that you were reading the Proverbs this morning?
Uh-huh.
I'm curious about that because I want to start doing that. How do you go about that when you wake up? What time do you wake up today?
A little after 4.
Okay. And wait, what time do you go to bed?
Between 12 and 1.
So it's possible to only get like 3 hours of sleep?
I don't know. I do it. I don't know if it's possible.
All right.
Michael, I like your new picture on Zoom.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Good morning, too.
Yeah, I'll turn my camera off soon. I was actually just in the bathroom real quick, but I'll yeah.
All right, we're going to get started here. Good morning, Michael. Good morning, everybody. Hey, Egg Misfits. It is April 16th, 2020. It is episode 421. We're having a lot of fun. Lots of things are happening. A lot of things are happening at an exponential pace, but I don't think they're exponential in such a way that there's just less distraction. You ever been driving on the highway and you're doing 90 miles an hour and then you got to slow down to like 60 miles an hour and you think like you're walking, but you become so aware of how life moves by. And then when things pick up fast and you start to get to go faster, you just focus in on more things. You're not looking so far off of the road. So I think that's where maybe a lot of these things that are happening at such a breakneck pace, it's because our focus is drawn to where it needs to be. There's a poem here that Timothy Keller says, to be known but not loved is our greatest fear. But to be fully known and truly loved, well, it's a lot like being loved by God. It is what we need more than anything. It liberates us from pretense, humbles us out of our self-righteousness, and fortifies us for any difficulty that life can throw at us. To be known but not loved is our greatest fear. And to be truly loved is a lot like being loved by God. What is this thing that you're doing that you're known for, but possibly not truly loved for? That could be knowing yourself. That could be being aware of yourself. So that's kind of the comments to kind of get things started. I'm just going through an old journal. I don't even know which journal this is. Oh, last fourth quarter of 2019. Simple question to ask. Who are you? Almost impossible to answer if you turn the question around. How are you? Where do you come from? How am I? Where do I come from? What is the nature of my existence? So if you don't know who you are, do you have any chance to know where you're going or where you're from? What are you working on that's so hard to be a part of your life that it's not valuable in your life? What are you working so hard on to be a part of that is not valuable in your life? What are those things that just don't bring you value? Anger, frustration, aggravation. It's easy to say those things when they're written down in Word. Another thing to do them because we've got to work with the old story. Everything works on us and always drops us someplace easy, only to have to make the journey back to the start. Sometimes we'll have ideas and it'll take us down. It'll take us, and then we've got to at least get back to the start. How many of us ever feel like sometimes we're working from behind the starting line some days? Yesterday when Shardia started giggling and talking about how she spent time with her children the day before, I think she was ahead of the starting line. As Gigi was having her conversation with us yesterday, she was getting to the starting line and starting to move beyond it. What ideas do you have that take you behind or back behind the starting line for you every day? In what in what way is anything important? Are you working for your intellect? Oh, here's a tough one. Are you working for your intellect or enlightenment? What are you in search of? What is the path you are traveling to arrive at the search? Hey, Gigi, how are you this morning?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good. I'm great.
Yeah? You sound like I almost believe that.
Almost believe it.
Okay, good. That part I believed. We go over here. So as you sit today, as you sit quietly, or maybe not so quietly, how did you get to today? How did you get here? What is it that brought you here? To this idea moment, to this energy moment, to this Thursday morning? Was it you that brought you here? Are you sitting in joy? Did you have an idea that this is where you'd be from yesterday in this state of energy when you woke up this morning? What filled you from the moment your eyes started to crack open, from the moment you started to regain your consciousness? What ideas started to fill your day? Or was it sounds in your room? Was it thoughts from yesterday? Was it emails? Was it phone calls from yesterday? Videos from yesterday? Was it dreams of tomorrow? Dreams of service today? Was it ideas of who you might have conversations with? How do you become aware of your future gain? What could you possibly need to become aware of to see the unseen? Right? Sometimes I'll have folks, when we're having a conversation, I'll say, tell me something you see in your room you haven't seen before or in a while. And they'll just stop and slowly get focused, and they'll really start to look. It's that idea of doing less and becoming more, realizing what more is in your room. So here's a question. You have a story of who you are. What makes it possible to receive anything greater than who you are? Ooh, somebody better buckle up. You have a story of who you are. What makes it possible to receive anything greater than who you are? How do you get an increase in income? How do you increase your team size? How do you become better at presentations? How do you listen better? How do you smile more? How is all of this stuff possible? If you're stuck in your story of who you are. That's why it's a constant choice. Moving forward right now, this moment is different than any other moment in the history of the world. The history of the world. Not just your life, the history of the world. We've never been here before. The reason everybody's not running around screaming like banshees is because we've habitualized. The earth runs in formulas. The earth runs in patterns. But do you realize what all has to be in place every single day, every single moment? That has to be in order? That, thank goodness, we don't have any influence over? Gravity. right? The spinning of the planets, the rotation of the galaxies, us expanding away from wherever it was that we started, however it is that we move. So what makes it possible to receive more? You can take in, every one of us can take in the biggest breath of air that we ever took in. Guess what? There's more for anyone else. We could be as selfish as we want with all of the oxygen we want right now. Everybody taking a huge deep breath. And guess what? There's plenty more. Where does lack start? Who you are has form and shape. This idea of who you are has boundary and capacities. When you desire more, the thing that holds it all requires change. How do you make yourself bigger? How do you, sitting right now, make yourself bigger? Make the idea of you bigger, that you can serve more, that you can be loved more, that you have more to love, that you have more to give, that you have more space in you to receive. Could that be an issue with some folks out there, that they can't receive? It's not that they don't want to, but their receive bucket has been filled up. Kind of like if you've ever heard of that thing, gastro bypass, where they kind of put a little belt around your stomach or something, and they make your stomach smaller so you eat less, you feel full quicker. They just reduce the size, the capacity for you to need food or to feel like you need food. What if somebody's receive bucket has just been, somebody filled it with cement? Think that's possible? Maybe out of self-protection, somebody filled it with cement for themselves. I ain't taking in anything. Could you imagine what color our plant would be if the plants didn't take in any CO2? They actually, the thing that we exhale, the thing that can kill us, that can cause us to cease life, is their life. What happens if you just shut off your receive valve? I ain't taking anything else in. That means nothing. It's hard to pick and choose what you're going to receive. We think we're good at that. But what filled your, what did you start to receive that was beyond your control this morning? News. Somebody else maybe has the TV on. Somebody else, I know my father-in-law used to go to sleep with the TV on. Now then that became the habit. He needed that noise. I know I remember hearing my parents when I was little, because I was born in New York, Yonkers, New York, the sounds of the city. You move out to a farm in Eastern Ohio, there ain't a whole lot of noise out there, except a moo here, a moo here, and a moo there. Sometimes we become habitualized to the sounds of our life. Do you remember the first thing you heard this morning? As I was stirring, Beamish, the gray dog, if you've seen him, he sleeps with us. He usually sleeps like almost on me. And so when I stirred, the first thing I heard was him stirring. So what's the first sound you heard this morning that started to program you, started to awaken your systems? What was it? Space Odyssey 2000? HAL was the computer? Good morning. Systems coming online. What came online for you this morning? How many of you, the first thoughts were of service? How many of you, the first thoughts were of self? Doesn't make them right or wrong, but become aware of the programming that drives you from the second that you wake up, because it had to be operating in the subconscious as it transitioned over into the awareness. So when you think I'll be so happy when I pay off my debt or I have a new home or when I reach the next goal, it's always a version of you that you see becoming happy. Do you follow that? When we think, man, I can't wait till I get this paid off. That'll be so awesome when that's done. That's always a version of you that you see becoming happy. What if in this moment you have that choice, happiness or joy? I'm sorry, joy or misery? Joy or misery? Remember, how many thoughts on a day, average on a day do we have? So when you start to have 100, 200, 300, 500 thoughts, you realize it's a math problem now? There's only there's a couple of ways to work on you getting yourself reprogrammed. We have on average 70,000 thoughts a day, 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. Just do the simple math. Just do the simple math. Take 60,000 thoughts divided by 24, divided by 60. That's how many thoughts you have in a minute. Without you even knowing, operating at the subconscious level. So you're either going to have to be conscious of the thoughts or slow your thoughts down. That's what meditation does. And it doesn't have to be sitting with your legs crossed and got incense burning and, go get a orange toga. You can do walking meditation. You can do some of those things where you're doing something quietly and becoming aware. When I make the coffee in the morning, it's more of a ritual than it is for the coffee. That's just the routine. The water going into the machine that filters stuff, that filters the water. I wonder how many times that water has been through the water state. I wonder how many rocks it's gone through. I wonder how many chemical plants it's been through. The coffee, how it was picked, by hand, by machine, side of a mountain. Was it raining? Was it sunny when it was picked? Who made the coffee pot? What assembly line did that come off of? Who got a paycheck because I purchased that 7 years ago, 8 years ago? Little things like that. Listen, in thoughts, comments, and it doesn't have to be on any of the topics or questions that I'm talking about. I'm just going through some old journals here, one old journal.
I just wanted to say that this morning was actually I was a little late on my schedule because I went to sleep late. But as soon as I woke up, I hopped in the mindset of attacking my goals or writing down my goals, both for prospecting, MetaTrader 4 trading, and social media. So I wanted to acknowledge myself on that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. We just heard him say, I wanted to acknowledge myself on that. Be aware of what you just heard. Think of what you just heard. Well, that's bragging, or congratulations. I should do it. Or, right?
It's bragging.
Well, no, not you. No, not you. How people heard it. We need to brag on ourselves. If you ever listen to Bob Proctor, and I know you guys have a lot to do with Bob Proctor, he was a mentor to me 18 years ago. And he used to say, I love myself. I can't get enough of myself. Because if we don't believe in us, who else is going to believe in us? But when you heard him say that, I went after my goals and I'm glad I did that, and I just wanted to brag on myself a little. What was the feeling did you hear? Oh, I need to be doing more. Was it in praise and support and congratulations? Was there absolute pure joy? Could you be in his joy without having to be in any misery? Could you say it from a place of, this is so awesome, or, good luck for him. Man, my life sucks. And why does he think he's so good? I'm working hard at what I'm doing. All at a subconscious level. This is where it's so critical when you hear things that pull an emotion from you. When you hear things that pull an emotion from you, it would be so critical for you to be aware of what state did it put you in? What state are we drug into and thrown into all the time versus the state we want to stay in? Right? Somebody says something. Do we all of a sudden get jealous? Do we get frustrated? I'm not doing enough. Do we self-doubt? All of these things that pop up. Versus, can you just be in joy for him? Isn't that awesome? The sun's coming up for some people. What if you had to have some goals done before the sun come up? Wouldn't you want the sun to come up a little slower than it would normally come up? What if your goals showed up soon as the sun came up? Wouldn't you want the sun to come up a little faster than it comes up? What state are you in? Is it Shamil? Oh, Shammy. I'm like, I know. Okay. I can't see with my glasses. Hey, Shammy, how are you, my love?
Hey, good morning. So I'm shaking a little because you said a few times like, questions about who am I, and I actually wrote something that I wasn't even planning on sharing with anybody at all, but hearing you talk today, I thought I'll share it, but makes me a little nervous, but I'll share it. Okay, let me breathe. I wrote this actually the day before yesterday. It's called Who Am I? Who am I? I am joy above all. I am love that conquers all. I am strength that overcomes all. I am a child who grows and grows. I am wind that flows through it all. I am energy that fuels my soul. I am love that gives it all. I am the universe that's in us all. I am joy above all. I am giving even more. I am succeeding through it all. I am love that conquers all.
Yes, you are.
I used to write poems a lot when I was younger. And the other day I got inspired to write that. I normally wouldn't share it, but
Well, I'm glad you did, because I'd like a copy of that.
It was so nerve-wracking. I'm like, my stomach is all twisted. But yeah.
So let's just peek into that for just a second. Your stomach is twisted. That's your second brain. That's that fear. That's that idea, that excitement of enthusiasm. So you wrote it the other day. What caused you to put pen to paper?
I've been working on doing more things that I love to do. Like that thing that you said, what are you forgetting to do, just has like stayed in my mind, because I used to do so many things that for a long time I stopped doing. And ever since you said that, what are you forgetting to do, I've just been like trying to do more of things. Like I like to draw too. So I haven't drawn anything yet, but that'll be my next thing. But I used to draw, I used to write poems. And the day before yesterday, I just felt like writing. I started with Who Am I? And I left, actually, it's funny because the Who Am I wrote that before I actually wrote the poem. I had it in my journal, Who Am I, with the dots. And then the day before yesterday, so this week has been like so much aha moments, like we say. And the day before yesterday, I just started writing the rest. I don't know. Maybe I just felt so good that it all came out, but
So what if, because there seemed like there was 13 or 14 stanzas there.
Mhm.
What if you illustrated each one of those, who am I?
Oh yeah, that would be nice.
Then if you illustrated that, guess what you just did? You created a little child's book.
Oh, it's funny you say that because I've been
Oh, it's hysterical because there's no connection between us.
ever, ever since last year. Last year, I remember, was the first time that idea popped in my head, but it's popped in my head a few times to write a child's book.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's see. I just got it out of your head, and we just made it a universal awareness.
Why? I would,
Somebody would love for you to read that again. Brittany would love for you to read that again.
okay. Uh, gonna make me shake again. Okay. Um, who am I? I am joy above all. I am love that conquers all. I am strength that
Okay, slow
overcomes
down,
all.
slow down, slow down. Who am
I
I?
just, okay. I don't have my glasses on, so.
That's okay. That's okay.
Um, and actually, it's funny because I wrote it in my journal and then I wrote it in my notes on my phone because
Cool.
I wanted to repeat it to myself. um,
So let's go line by line. Who am I?
I am joy above all.
I am joy above all.
I am love that conquers all.
I am love that conquers all.
I am strength that overcomes all.
I am strength that overcomes all.
I'm a child who grows and grows.
I'm a child who grows and grows.
I am wind that flows through all.
I am wind that flows through all.
I am energy that fuels my soul.
I am energy that fuels my soul.
I am love that gives it all.
I am love that gives it all.
And the energy that's in us all. The universe. I am the universe that's in us all.
I am the universe in us all.
I am joy above all.
I am joy above all.
I am giving even more.
I am giving even more.
I am succeeding through it all.
I am succeeding through it all.
I am love that conquers all.
I am love that conquers all. Yeah, I'd illustrate that. I'd illustrate each of those.
I think that's a great idea. I'm definitely going to do that.
You now have a child's book, a children's book.
And I get to do what the other thing that I've been wanting to do, which is draw.
Exactly. And then you know what? Because you're the author of it, you're the creator of it, you're the original artist of it. I think we wind up putting that in a little PDF file, turning it into an ebook, and selling it.
Yeah. Yes. That would be amazing.
Good. Done. I'll help you.
I'll buy it. I want that for me and my daughter. I loved it.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. I thought, when I raised my hand, I was like, I would step out of my comfort zone.
But how many, listen, folks, I need us to help Shammy here for a second. When we heard that, how many of us felt uncomfortable? How many of us felt she was uncomfortable? See what happens to the story we tell ourselves when we find that joy inside of us, that thing that I'm getting chills now, that thing that's inside of us that we find that we know that we know this is us, this is who we are, this is who we're becoming. And yet some old story tells us in the pit of our gut going, really? This is not your comfort zone. I couldn't think of any place she's more comfortable. But yet it's the story we tell ourselves. People are already buying this, and it's a bestseller. I agree.
Yeah, I'm reading the comments. It's
So
awesome.
I'm going to ask everyone, step out of your comfort zone. Hey, Monique, can you chat?
Yes, I can.
So here's a question. Talk about somebody who has to step out of their comfort zone all the time. I'm not even talking about her health journey. I'm not talking about the challenges she's had with her daughter. Every time she interviews for something, for a potential income opportunity, she has to compete against other ideas and what somebody else believes the idea of what the actor should look like. She's an actress. And she does commercials and movies and TV shows. Talk about somebody who has to usually always be out of their comfort zone. So, Monique, when you just heard Shami read that, and she said, I'm so nervous, you have to read scripts that aren't yours.
Yes.
Right? How do you deal with having to read somebody else's script to embody that new soul that you're supposed to be becoming, right? That's what they say about acting. You've got to become the person. You've got to live the person. So talk to me about that first.
So typically, this is how I know I'm right or not right for a role, because not every audition that comes my way do I actually audition for. Right. And the reason being is just what Sean said, because, and this applies to yourself, is because as an actor, we're not pretending to be somebody. It's the skill that you have to become somebody. So when I read a script, I feel how I feel inside, and I feel one of two things. Either one, I cannot connect with this person, or two, I read the script and I instantly connect and it feels right. And I feel like that person. I feel like in that moment, I could become that person. So when Shami was saying, oh my gosh, I feel so nervous, that's the feeling that you want, because there's nothing nerve-wracking about pretending to be somebody you're not. But when you start to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm about to expose a part of myself that I can really connect with, that's when the nerves come, because that's your true self.
So here's a question then, from your perspective and your experience. It hit me. So are we all stone cold actors of somebody who we're not?
1,000%. I used to say, when I worked in the corporate world, actually, and I managed people, I used to say, acting is the biggest job you'll do working in the corporate world is the biggest job you'll do or acting job you'll do between the hours of, 8 and 5.
So we are all, listen, Shami finally got to take off the mask, if you will, and we got to see her for who she is. And because it's her, we're hardly ever ourselves. We become this, we feel like that's the imposter. That's the actor. I get so nervous being myself. Well, then who have you been? So, Monique, how is it that a director, has there ever been a confrontation, a dialogue between the actor and the director upon how they saw the person to be?
Yeah, so typically after you get the role, they'll tell you that. They really don't tell you that before. You get a little bit of insight just from like the brief 2-sentence description they'll give you. However, I have auditioned for a role before, and the director said to me, I saw that character completely different. But when you walked in, I didn't even say a word yet. When you walked in, I knew you were this character. And it was so interesting because the minute I walked in, I was that character. In my head, I was that character. I had become that character, weeks before. When I got the script, I had started to become that character. In fact, when I'm auditioning, I tell my family all the time, please pardon me because I throw myself so far in. I'm a method actor, so I throw myself so far into the role that I'm, auditioning for, not even the role that I landed, the role that I'm auditioning for, that I really become that character. So if I'm auditioning, let's say, for instance, it's my dream to be somebody that's just a mess. it's my dream to play somebody that's just a mess, but I never get casted as that because they see me as the pretty girl. So I always get casted for roles that are, the pretty girl, the popular person or whatever it is, the cute girl. And I want to play that opposite of me character. So, when I get those chances to audition for roles like that, I get so excited, but I've never gotten it because that's not me. I'm not a mess. Does that make sense? I don't connect with that really, really messy part. However, when they give me roles of people that are broken, that I really connect with. Because I've been broken. We've all been broken. And, those are things that I really connect with. So yeah, to answer your question, the director keeps the idea of who he thinks the character should be very close to him until you actually get the role. And then he shares with you how he sees that character. But mostly, they want to see how you see the character. They have an idea in their head, but they want you to take that idea and step it up to another level that they couldn't even imagine. To complete
So, I mean, this is who we are at every essence. This is everything we talk about on the Daily Awakening, is becoming the actor. But are we becoming the actor, or are we revealing who we are as so help me understand this. I understand method acting and getting into it. When you were going through training, when you were going through this awareness of becoming this actress, when you were becoming this new person, how much of you, right? This is where we talk about I've been broken and been connected, and we we all can connect to that. But is there a description between the artist and the actor and the vision? Right? The director has a vision, the writer wrote it, the director decides to direct what the writer put down. There's all of these fragments that need to come together through the actor and through direction. But how much of us gets in the way of becoming that character?
That's a hard question, because I think a lot of that's the difficult part, is separating the us from the character. That's the part that kind of makes a good actor.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that is the hard part for sure.
And the reason I ask that is because as you're saying, that's the hard part. Isn't that where we all right now? Every one of us who is not on stage and not getting paid to perform, we are in a performance, a free performance called life, but it's costing us everything.
Mm-hmm.
And this free performance that we're in, because we don't have a director, or we find directors who don't direct us towards our well-being, but towards their well-being, called society, called advertising, called marketing, called uplines, called you name it what you want. And we're trying to always perform for somebody or something that there's no applause for. See, when have you done live theater at all or anything like that?
I was just going to say that really is a different type of acting, and it's something that I really want to do, but I kind of see where you're going with this question. Being in front of a audience every night and doing something like theater where you get an instant reaction. There's no retakes. There's no cut, whatever. Like, it's so much different. And like, I really, really, really want to try that. It's a different type of acting that you do all in general, but like that's a whole nother ball game right there. Like, you're really exposed, and you can look into the eyes of somebody and see their reaction to your emotion is like a whole nother level that takes a lot of courage to do theater acting.
So what do they call it when they're talking about they've got the shows and we do 3 shows a day or whatever? What do they call it when they do they'll do a practice run and a live event? When I don't know.
Oh, like a dress rehearsal you're talking about?
So there's dress rehearsal and then there's the live show.
Mm-hmm.
So on Broadway, they have the dress rehearsal and they rehearse, right? Nobody's in the audience when they see them rehearsing because nobody wants to pay to see us rehearse. But they will pay to see us perform. Aren't we all in a performance right now? I mean, right this second, we are in a performance. The challenge is there is no dress rehearsal. Our end, we're all going to end in the same place, a grave or a jar. That's the end place. That's the final curtain call, is a grave or a jar, an urn. We're all getting out of this thing the same way. So right now, the play that we're in, where we're at, the question is are you practicing or performing? Because you're only in a performance. Even when you're dress rehearsing for the play, even when you're doing your lines, practicing your lines, you're having, I think they call it in television and stuff and movies, table reads, right? And so if you have this table read, that's where you practice your lines. What are you practicing for today? What's the Academy Award you're looking to win for? What's that Oscar you're going for? Wouldn't it be the best supporting actress, or maybe the best actress in a drama, best actress in a comedy, best actress in poem writing? Who's your director? I got to say, my daily journal that was given to me by the assistant script writer in my life, RBP, who sent that off to me, going, here, you should check this one out. Right? I've got my scripts. They're called journals. Rhonda was here. She saw 5 of them, and that was from a year. How many books, how many scripts do you get to go back to read in your life? So my question to you is this. If today you were hired as the world's greatest actor and actress to play you, what part would you play? What name would your character be called? Would it be you? Would I play Sean Murphy today? Could I play the best Sean Murphy today? Could I get a standing ovation for being me today? Could I get people off of their feet and to be enthusiastically joyful that they spent time with me? Is that not your goal? Is to have people around you that are excited to be around you, that are joyful to be around you, that are in awe that they spent time with you? Because if it's not, then who are you? Is that Brianna doing? She's doing a little bit of Vogue. Heather Love's got her hand up. Hello, Heather.
Good morning.
Hi.
Oh, hello. Good morning.
So I wanted to say something because the conversation is like so perfect this morning. As far as acting and getting the opportunity to be who you know, show up in the world how you want to, because I think we're all going through really crazy things. And for me this week, I was faced with so many things that I just didn't want to have to deal with. I felt uncomfortable. I felt pressured. I felt like, you know, my employer was pushing me up against the wall and making me choose between me being me saying my family is worth more. I am worth more. Like, and I required it. I was just being put in this place, and these conversations that we have, it's just incredible. And sometimes we have to make hard decisions, and we have to make choices, and we have to, you know, be able to stand in what we believe and what we feel. And as hard as it was, as uncomfortable as I refused to let these people make me be somebody that I wasn't, and these beliefs that I have and who I am and what I am doing. And I gave a letter of resignation. Remember months ago when it was all about, I was going through, should I even try to get this certification? Is this even worth it? Is this really what I want to do? And it wasn't easy. And, you know, we had things that we had to overcome, and I almost wasn't able to get it done. And people stood up for me to help me get this thing accomplished. And I did it. And then a job came that I didn't even really know that I was looking for. And I fell in love with getting paid crappy money, but it was the connections that I'm making with these individuals, working with people who are on hospice and they're dying. And I had to write a letter of resignation because I just was not willing to bend for them. Like, absolutely not. And it was hard. I cried. I was upset. I didn't want to do it. And after I did it, my phone rang maybe 4 or 5 hours later, and it was work. And I didn't answer it the first time. I saw it coming through, and my husband was sitting next to me, and I was like, I'm not answering that call. And I answered it. They called right back, and I answered it the second time. And it was HR on the phone asking me to rescind my letter of resignation and telling me that I can take as much time as I need, weeks, months, whatever it be. And they didn't want to lose me. And it felt good in a way, right? Like, it felt good in a way that I have grown so far, that I have this backbone that I will stand up for myself. I will not allow certain things. And I was dumbfounded. Like, I am the last person that has been hired to this group of ladies. There's 7 of us. Some of them been there 15, 20 years. And nobody said a word. Nobody spoke up to HR. Nobody spoke up but me. And at one point I was just like, you know what? I'm going to stop talking for everyone else, and I'm going to speak for myself. My life is worth more than $13 an hour. And it felt good when they called and they told me everything that they told me about, you know, how I've shown up for them and that they don't want to lose me. And they were giving me the opportunity to do whatever it is that I needed to do. But, everything that you're saying today is so true. We have to, I don't want to be an actress, right? Like, I don't want to act for anybody. I want to be who I am. And that's how I want to show up all the time. And
Unmute yourself, my love.
oops, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. There's a call or something came in. So no, so listen, folks, for those of you that this is your first time hearing Heather or seeing Heather on our call, just drop a 1 in the chat real quick. I want to share something here real quick. If this is your first time hearing Heather. So a lot of you, this is your very first time hearing this amazing soul. You see her, she's beautiful, she's eloquent. But is it 13 years ago, Heather?
14. And guess it's coming up. The anniversary is coming up. It's the 28th of this month.
So the 28th, that's when it was started or released?
That's the day that it happened. And I was released I came home on the 22nd of April, 3 years following.
So the 28th of this month coming up is the 14th anniversary of her being incarcerated in a Colombian prison for 3 years. when you talk about, when you hear her, this person who became this actress, or who's talking about, I don't want to be an actress anymore. For 13 years, she kept that story quiet. So when she says, I wanted to stand up and say I have a backbone. When you hear her story that she went into a Colombian prison, didn't speak Spanish, was incarcerated, didn't know how long she was going to be there, and wound up being there for 3 years because of situations. They've actually done documentaries on her and her story. You wouldn't know that looking at this beautiful face that's sitting in front of us, this person who just said, I'm worth more than $13 an hour. I want to stand up for myself. I don't want to be an actor. Listen, she became one of the toughest actresses in that place to get through it. So she knows what it's like to not be herself. So I say this, when we look at this stuff and we see these people, we have no idea what troubles or trials they've been through. So Heather, now that you made that decision and you're in this new, you're taking that old garb, that old uniform off of the old actress, the person you were pretending to be. But the reason that they want you back, and they said rescind your letter of resignation, is because you are always at your core who you are. What happens now?
Now the ball's in my court. Now I get to take as many weeks and as many months as I need to. And if I choose to go back, I go back. And no matter whatever, there's a job waiting for me whenever I make a decision. And it just allows me to breathe, right? In these moments of craziness, it allows me to focus on my family. It allows me the opportunity to grow more and be more in my business. It allows me to do more self-development. It lets me stay home and not worry that I'm risking myself and bringing home something to my family. Like, I will never, ever be separated from them again. Like, I had a little boy that all I wanted to do was get home to. And I had this image of a family and a life that I was going to create for us. And now I have so much more than what I ever imagined that I could, and I am not willing to sacrifice it. And I know that there's bigger and there's more there, and I have many things that I can be doing. I can be working on my book. I can be working on my YouTube channel. I can be, somebody reached out to me and I'm going to do a podcast on the anniversary. And when they asked me, I started crying, and I was like, I'm driving and I'm crying right now. Like, that's the anniversary. And, she was like, I'm sorry. Is that a bad day for you? And I was just like, no, like, it's not. Like, it does not control me anymore. Like, 2 years ago, or 1 year ago, like, I did my first speaking the weekend after it happened, like the weekend after my anniversary. And like, I've decided, like, I'm not going to let it always gets to me, because it's around my birthday. It's, everybody gets excited their birthday's coming, and my birthday's coming, and it's generally not a good feeling. But I've taken that back, right? I'm taking control back over my feelings and my emotions. And sure, I get anxious and it bothers me, and those feelings come, but I'm not letting them control me anymore. So I have so much that I can be doing right now. I filled all my garden beds with dirt yesterday. I'm going to get my garden going. Like, I was so worked up, and, we've been fine without my little bit of income that's been coming in, right? But it was more about the people for me and the connections and being able to go make a difference in these people's life. And that's really what hurts so much, right? That they were taking something from me that I didn't want to let them have, but absolutely not. Like, I'm not going to be somebody that I'm not, and I know what I'm worth. And if and I've learned these things from my self-development and my MLM business. And like, it's, you know, I'm just, corporate America sucks, really.
It does provide an avenue.
It does.
But yes, the joy of having the responsibility to ourself, for ourself, and through ourself. If we go back and we read Shami's poem again, right? I am love.
I copied it and saved it in the phone.
Yeah. So this is the power of community. Many of us are in a prison. Some of us may have even spent some time in a prison, but she was literally in a Colombian prison that when I asked her, what can we do? What's something you want to do? Here's one of the things she wants to do, and it brings her to tears. She wants to put a playground in the prison she was in. You get to now work on building that playground.
Yes, I thought about that too this morning. I get to, and they're going through so much horrible stuff right now with this virus. And I have never been so grateful, like, for that experience. And like, now with what's going on, with what the world is seeing, I am constantly reminded that me going through what I went through at that time, like, I'm more and more grateful for that horrible experience, for all the lessons that it taught me, because I feel like people are going crazy over toilet paper, and I'm over here like, you've got to be kidding me. And these things are not scaring me, but seeing the videos from people in the prison right now, and they're revolting, and they're acting like crazies, and they can't get things sent into the prison for them. Like, it's really bad. Like, I've never been in prison in America, but I know that they take care of you. Like, I know that you don't have to worry about toothpaste and toilet paper, and you know, you're a female and you don't have to worry about female hygiene products. But over there, you get absolutely nothing. The clothes that are on your back is all that's given to you, and you need a way for a bed, a mattress, a blanket. You have to provide your own toilet paper, toothpaste. If you don't have it, you don't have it. Like, that's just it. And they're not accepting packages. They can't get their visits. And some people, the people come on the visits and they bring food on the weekend, and that they'll bring enough food, big plastic containers of food, to last these people a couple days, 2-3 days, you know, so they have some more food other than the greasy rice and makeshift salads that you're given every day. And they're not getting that, and they already didn't have good medical care. And granted, everybody in there isn't innocent, and you know, some people deserve to be in prisons, but nonetheless, the living conditions over there is absolutely horrible. And yet there's still children living in those prisons.
And this comes from, again, I need you all to hear this. This is a woman who was not a reporter there, who was not doing documentaries there, went to Colombia, was going to go on this amazing trip, and then all of a sudden winds up in a prison. You can watch the documentary, but this is locked up abroad. And this woman is speaking from this nightmare of 3 years, journals of books. I mean, the journals she wrote, just books and books of journals. Because that's the only thing that kept her sane. Had a little boy at home. So I wanted you all to hear this, because she was instantly put into an acting role. She had to become a prisoner.
I had to pretend like I wasn't scared when I was terrified, but I couldn't let that come across to anybody, because I didn't want to be deemed vulnerable. It was the biggest acting gig of my life.
Just hold on for that second, that phrase right there. I didn't want to be deemed vulnerable. Ladies, I need you all to hear that. because guys will go, yeah, whatever, bullshit. But that's the prison, I believe, that all of us walk into. We deem ourselves vulnerable, and we never want to be seen as vulnerable. I can tell you was it Maria? What was the name of the lady who brought you your stuff, who kind of adopted you when you were
Hilda.
Gilda. Gilda, I'm guessing you had some vulnerable moments with Gilda.
Hilda.
Hilda.
Yeah. This woman didn't even speak English, and I didn't, right? Like, I didn't speak Spanish when I went there, but there was this immediate connection with this old woman who could have been my great grandmother, who she was a Christian woman, and she was at my very first hearing, and she was there, and she would come to the prison to see me on weekends with a dictionary, so she could try to communicate with me. She got a couple people from the church could speak English and Spanish, so she got them people to come with her to visit me so she could communicate better, until I was able to, speak Spanish. And it took me about 8 months before I was even in the right place to put my mind and concentrate and decide that that's what I was going to do. But yes, Hilda was my guardian angel. She did everything she could for me. She brought me the TV. She would stand in these lines to drop off. They're called encomiendas, to bring your necessities weekly. You could do it on a Wednesday. They would be miles long, and she would be out there for hours. And I'm talking, she's 70 something years old. And so she's an older woman, and she would be there faithfully. I got sick. She would go find me medicine because they wouldn't give me the medicine in the prison. And like, when I was working and doing hair, she would go get me my chemical products and the things that I needed, and she would get them to the guards so the guards could bring them in for me. I mean, that woman she was God sent, and she is still in my life, and she was there the day I got married. Like, I'm lucky to have, God has given me the right things at the right times. I haven't had a good life or an easy life, but the things I lacked, or the things that I didn't have when I needed it, at a different point in my life, I was given it. So that, I guess, to show me that you can have these things really do exist. And most of it lies within yourself. You have to create them yourself.
Drop the mic. This is about a matter-of-fact conversation of a life-changing situation. Had you not known Heather was in a prison, had you not known 3 years locked away in a Colombian prison, you would have thought she was talking about her last job, her last relationship, her last fill in the blank. And when you realize, Heather, do you know is there a place for people to watch the documentary?
Yes, it's National Geographic. So if the cable subscriber, if you have National Geographic in your channel lineup, you can download Nat Geo, the app, and
Brittany just threw it up there. Nat Geo TV shows, Locked Up Abroad episode guide. Yes, season 5, episode 3, Forbidden Love. Yep.
It's called Colombian Double Cross. And my episode did so well that they are going to they're going to use it for the premiere of they're going to relaunch the season, and they're going to use my episode for the for the pre-launch. So it'll be up again.
So there you go. So this is why I wanted to two reasons why I wanted to bring Heather on. One, because she's just such a powerful, and she's a peanut. She's this little peanut. She's this little tiny peanut. I can put her in my pocket. but she's been through so much, and she's been through. So when people say, well, you have no idea how tough my life is. I say, you know what? You're probably right. But if we want to get into comparison and we want to say how bad our life is, we want to say how much struggle there is in our life, let me introduce you to Heather Love. Somebody who is absolutely iron-willed, soft-hearted, but boy, I've been on a couple of calls with her where she was about to let loose. And that fury, I wouldn't want to be on the other side of that. So Heather, I wanted you to remember how strong you are based upon you telling me, and we're seeing your letter of resignation, that you're this amazing soul and we need you. How many of you on this call right now, there's 89 of you, how many of you kind of decided to take a look at life just a little bit different because you heard Heather this morning? Check out all those comments. How many of you, because you heard Shami's poem, you thought a little bit different about the day? Type SP, Shami's poem. You realize what's happening here, folks? This is when we share our stories. This is what community does. This is what everybody you're about to speak to is needing, is wanting. They're wanting this community. They're needing this kind of conversation. They're needing this kind of dialogue. We need to hear somebody else's story to inspire us. You think you're having a bad day? Imagine landing in Colombia, and in 24 hours, you're in a prison. You're in a holding cell, and then they take you out, and you think you're being released, but you're not. What can you be released from right now? What would they come in, and what would you pray that right now in your life you would want to be released from? Think about that. If I could just get out of here, what would that be? Is it a mindset? Is it a position at work? Is it a relationship? Is it a business partner? What do you need to be released from? What do you need to pass from? This is this community. Heather and I met. It was another godsend moment. I get a tap on the shoulder, and she says, "I got a story like that." We were listening to Molly Bloom at an event, at a convention.
I finally watched the movie. After a year, I finally was able to sit down and watch the full movie. And I still felt bad. I still felt crazy watching it. But I did not have a full-blown anxiety attack.
Good. So, yeah, I just absolutely love Heather Love, and I'm honored that she gets to give us some of her time, and we get to spend some time with her. But these are the individuals you hear. Every one of you have stories like this. Heather, Brittany, right? Our girl Brittany on here, who just went through her awakening. RBP, who goes through it on a daily basis. All of these amazing women who are struggling to just be themselves. Yes, I do. It's a Daily Awakening on Telegram. Sean's Daily Awakening or Daily Awakening, something like that. Delia. Good morning, Delia. She may be back. There she is. You're muted.
I am sorry. I was typing. Away. Good morning.
Okay. Good morning.
I want to go back to your question about, or your statement about being the best actress or actor. Do you mean be the best version of ourselves, which we have the freedom every day, because we know intrinsically when we're acting, for the most part, we know. Either we know before we act or after we receive a consequence that the behavior is not intended or
Well, whether it was our true self or not.
exactly.
So the challenge is don't be the best actor or actress. Can you be the best person who's playing the actor or actress? Because we all have this mask. We all have this facade. So when I was 14 years old, I decided to take off my actor's suit and be me. That's the day I had that I said, I'll never have another bad day. And that was at 14 years old. And I've worked on it every day since. So the question is that, am I me or am I being an actor? Am I being Delia, the one who I was born, the source that beats my soul? Or am I being what everybody has told me to be? This strong Cuban woman with an accent, with glasses, and who used to have on makeup, who doesn't have on makeup, who wants to, what is this story? Who are you becoming that's not you? Who have you become that's not you? You grew up, I'm guessing, with some pretty strict rules, right? What you should and shouldn't do.
Who I was the obedient daughter, student, wife, pleaser, perfectionist.
Yep.
Very quiet. It's hard to be. I was very quiet.
But that was the actress, wasn't it? That's who you were told to be. That's the part you were told to play.
And that I couldn't do this or couldn't do that because of my vision impairment.
Yep.
Like when I told my aunt in Miami Beach, they were my foster parents for 5 months, that I wanted to be an eye doctor. And I don't know where I got this from. I said, oh, I want to be an eye doctor. Crazy idea, Delia, dreaming. They looked at me like, you got to be kidding me. Here's a girl who got off the plane, doesn't speak English, is learning, he goes to public school, and she wants to become a doctor when her vision is impaired. And not just with glasses, come on. I was born with a condition that when I'm stressed, my eyes shake and I am totally blind sideways.
Wow.
Yeah, and the doctors told my mom and my grandfather, who was a visionary, I wonder, in parentheses, I wonder sometimes if my grandfather read Napoleon Hill, because the more that I listened to him, the more that he instilling me some of those behaviors. My grandfather was born in 1898. I have no idea. But I had the pleasure to be part of his life and him being part of mine until I was 22 years old. So I think that was a gift. But anyhow, going back to me, when they looked at me, I said, that's right. Can't see well, don't speak English. New in the country. 14 years old, Miami Beach. Surrounded by every culture but Cuban Catholic, except for my family, my mom's family. Everybody was Jewish or they came from another town in the United States.
Right.
So what was the first thing that I did at 14, like Heather and like you? And then all my life I've done great things that God has inspired me to do, but then I put the brakes. The first thing that I did was I told my cousin, Tati, I don't want to go to public education anymore. I feel like a number. She goes, what do you mean? I said, you know, I was denied Catholic education at 6 when Castro came. I was in a Catholic school. The school closed and the nuns were thrown out of the country. You couldn't practice religion back in 1960 in Cuba. And I said, let me tell you something. The year that I spent in Spain, my mother was given 2 scholarships for my sister and I in the Catholic Church. What is Carlton in Miami? I guess it's Sacred Heart over there. And my mother denied it because she wanted the family together. But now I had to come as a Peter Pan to Miami, and they're in Spain. And if they could give me a scholarship in Spain, they can give me one at St. Patrick's. And she looked at me, you gotta be kidding me. Let me call Mother Superior right now. She's also a dreamer. So my cousin, my second cousin called, and I don't wanna go into that story right now, but I did get the scholarship for myself and my sister. I went to Catholic education, penniless. By the way, that's the school that Ricky Ricardo, Desi Arnaz went to. I discovered that when I used to work in the rectory, the second year, they told me, the school needs help and we want you to work in the rectory, answering the phone. And I go, are you kidding me? I don't speak English well, I have an accent. They said, it doesn't matter. We need you to work at the rectory 5 hours a week. And I didn't say no, and I did it. And that's when I found the yearbook that Desi Arnaz had gone to school there.
So Delia, let me ask you a question. My mama said never ask a lady her age, but how many years
Please,
younger
I
are you?
would
Right?
love to tell you my age.
Well, how many years younger are you?
I am 66 going on 25.
So here's the thing, folks. 66 years, when you get to know Delia and her life story and some of the rest of the stories that she has to share, listen to what happened. It all comes back to a story from when we're in childhood. We've all been molded by something that happened to us earlier on. We're not being molded by something that happens after us, that happens in the future. What if we can be molded by the future? But we're always being molded by the past. And when we choose to stay out of the past by being out of this moment right now, misery or joy. So all of that to say, we have this opportunity to be present. And this woman is unfolding her life even right now. She's doing all these new amazing things right now. Why? Because she has a choice to do such. My question to each of you is, what part are you going to play today? Are you going to resign from this position of acting that maybe you've been in? Right? Can you check with the director of your day and ask, am I playing my part or am I playing somebody else's part? How many times do we want to armchair quarterback somebody else's life? How many times do we want to be the director when we just need to be the actor or actress that we've been asked to play the role for? And then decide, are you playing somebody else's role? Y'all get this? Jasmine, I believe this call has been epic. It's been epic for me. I don't know about anybody else. But to have these souls show up, to have these people show up here right now. Some of you are going to watch this thing on Hulu. Yes, you have actresses on here. If anybody's seen the show that's coming out now called Chosen, Monique Peters is in that movie, is in that TV show. Heather's has her own documentary. Some of you in here, I'm sure, absolutely have some more stuff that you're a part of some other kind of movie. My point is this. We never know until we spend some time. And when we spend some time, right, when we do less and we become more of a relationship. There was 1,000 people at that event that Heather was at. And people saw her and they gave her, oh, by the way, they gave her awards for having lost 100 pounds. What's it up to, Heather? Is it over? It's over 100 now, right?
106.
So you see this beautiful soul. Not only is she sharp and brilliant and beautiful and funny, and listen, when we talk about Brittany will cut you. Heather can cut you. Heather can whip it out pretty quick. And when she says she's coming for your neck, you won't even know it. And I love her to death. Look at that smile on her face. She knows I love her. But all I'm saying is that when we're like, ooh, man, Z snap and a head shake, better be careful. But these are the people that we get to have conversations with. When you hear Monique's story, 100+ pounds. Is it Monique? Is it over 100? How much was it?
245.
245 pounds. So this is just hitting me. Y'all ready? How much weight do we have to lose from our old story? How much weight do we have to lose from listen, Heather was quiet for 13 years. A couple of people knew, but there was a story that was happening on stage with Molly Bloom with this event we're at. And she comes up and taps me on the shoulder because that's a whole nother story. She goes, I got a story. I go, well, then let's have a conversation about it. And after August of last year, she came onto this call and started the release. Onto this call with me, little old
Somebody
me.
just made a comment about losing weight and how it feels. And I tell you, like, feeling confident about yourself, it wasn't so much about the weight, it was about feeling good about myself, right? And the weight loss was the first step in starting to share who I really was. And that is the honest to God truth. I ran from who I was. I ran from the things that had happened. Like I thought I was an actress while I was in prison. When I came home, if you did not know what had happened to me, there wasn't a chance you were going to find out unless you were being a nosy posy and you were Googling my name on the internet. And it was 2009, so people weren't doing that a whole lot then. And I was determined to reinvent myself, and nobody knew. Nobody had an inkling of the things that I had went through. And I was accomplishing the things that I wanted to do, all the things that I had imagined, and I'm having these babies. And when I started to do the weight loss, though, like, there was just something I wanted to relate to people. I made this life for myself, but I was living in a bubble. I wouldn't let anybody in. I didn't want friends. I was terrified of people finding out this thing about me and not letting, my son have a normal life, or, judging me, right? Like, I was worried about the way people would judge me.
Yeah, but nobody on this call worries about how people judge them.
Oh, no. And they'll tell themselves every day that they don't care about how people feel. And, we get these attitudes and, we got all this mouth and it's so not true, because that's why we do the things that we do, because subconsciously we truly care about how people view us.
Boom. I love you, Heather. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us.
I love you too.
I'm so glad we have you back.
I'm not going anywhere. I'll be here every day.
Yay.
I love you, Heather. I miss you.
Oh, I love you too. I can't wait to see your face.
I know.
In person.
I know. I love you.
Yeah. And so there's just, the amazing stories that you'll get to hear as we start to unfold more and more of all of our stories, right? RBP comments? What's going on? Yeah.
Really? After all that? How bad do you want me to tank? Come on now. That wasn't fair. Bus comes by. Sean goes, throw Rhonda under it. It'll be fun. Let's watch.
I think I hear it coming.
Yeah. Oh, no. It's already here. Trust me. How do you top all this? Everything that's been said is amazing. Hearing Monique and how she brought all this about with the acting. Oh my gosh. I want a book in my hand from Shammy. I want an autographed copy of the documentary from Heather. And I want tickets to the next upcoming event that Monique will be starring in. And I don't know what Leo's going to be in, but if it has anything to do with him, I'm watching. So I want event tickets to everything. And I'm just trying to figure out how to pay for all the flights to get to and from everywhere I need to go. Because I'm like, oh my heavens. Do y'all realize what, if you stumbled up on this call, do you realize what you stumbled up on? And for those of this that's been here, do y'all realize how this call has morphed into so much more? It's amazing. And then if you stop and listen to all these people and their stories, and we have these accomplished individuals on here, and they're on here still struggling through fights of the old story, just like you, just like me. We are all just so the same that we throw up these old stories, or we throw up these shields so no one can see that we're like them, when all we really want is to know someone else is going through this too. So it's funny how we block that, but that's really all we want. And Monique said it, a lot of people are seeking validation. And then where are you seeking that validation? A lot of people don't have this community. A lot of people aren't on this phone call. They don't have a place to show up every morning at 6:30 Central to get some love and some peace and some joy, and a place to smile and laugh and have perfect strangers come into your heart and want nothing, require nothing from you. But you look at every place, we have gender difference, we have race difference, ethnicity difference, age difference, location difference. We have every kind of difference you can think of on this call by this farm boy from Ohio, this little white man from Ohio. And he has developed this place, provided this place for us to all show up and realize no matter what, and no matter who we are and where we come from and the way we look, we all got the same issues, the exact same issues. And it's bizarre. And then you hear some story like Heather's and you're like, whew. And it's kind of one of those moments where you're like, well, you know, I woke up and I forgot to turn the dishwasher on and I was really pissed off. And then you hear Heather's story and you're like, oh, well, you know, a dishwasher's not that bad. It's pretty, I can live through that. I can, you know, I got this. So, you know, I've got some notes over here, but I was mostly just, I was basking in the joy that God brought me here and each one of y'all here, and y'all allow me the chance to take a piece of you with me every single day. And I am so grateful for that, because none of y'all require anything from me in return. And I don't even have that. I don't know that I even have that in my own family. Because a lot of times they're like, and what you gonna give me? And they don't mean it like that, but that's just what they require. But you guys require nothing. Y'all are a beautiful example of what God's always asked us to be. And I'm not gonna lie, I never thought I'd find that here. So it's shocking to me in a great way. I hope that comes out right. Like, it's beautiful. Everything that's represented here is beautiful, and all these new people jumping on. And I guess if I had one question to ask, and I woke up with it this morning, and I wasn't prompted to say it when Sean asked, but after hearing all this, this is the question that I went to bed with last night, and I woke up with this morning again. And it was, why don't we show up purely for ourselves? Why does it have to be some outside stimulus that makes us want to be better? Now, I'm thankful for the outside stimulus that makes us want to be better, but why can't we think enough of ourselves to show up and become better purely for ourselves? And hearing these stories, that's what Shammy did today. when she gave us that poem, she was scared to death to give us that poem because she didn't know how we were going to receive it, but she knew she was showing up for herself. And that was awesome. And then when Heather decided just to, knuckle down, I'm going to get through this, she showed up in that prison for herself. So those of us that have not had those type of experiences today, can you realize how worthy you are and that you are so enough that you can just show up, not to grow a business, not to be more likable, not to have more people join you, not to have more people follow you. Can you just show up purely for yourself to become better? So it's just a thought. Y'all got my heart over here like crazy. It's definitely beating hard. And it's good. And I think I weathered that being, mowed down by the bus that Sean threw me under just now pretty good. And
Well, I'm in my own little world. What? You want me to drive?
So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts.
So 1903. I want y'all think back 1903, not 2003, 1903. Think about the times and think about the movies you see, the black and whites and the stories, the movies and the picture movies or whatever was happening at the time. 1903. You all kind of got that? What people were thinking and how people were acting and the thought process. Right, I think it was 1902 or 1903 where they said they were going to close the patent office because everything that had ever been made has been made. There's nobody's going to need a new patent. Chapter 5, Science of Getting Rich. You must get rid of the last vestige of the old idea that there is a deity whose will it is that you should be poor and whose purposes may be served by keeping you in poverty. God loves you and wants you to live an abundant life. 1903. Why hasn't that kicked in yet? I'll read it again. You must get rid of the last vestige of the old idea that there's a deity whose will it is that you should be poor and whose purposes may be served by keeping you in poverty. God loves you and wants you to live an abundant life. There is an intelligent substance which is everything and lives in everything and lives in you. It is a consciously living substance. Being a consciously living substance, it must have a natural and inherent desire of every living intelligence for the increase of life. Every living thing must continually seek for the enlargement of its life, because life, in the mere act of living, must increase itself. You've heard those stories today of people increasing their life, increasing themselves, of taking themselves to the next level, of being more than who they are. From the age of 14, of Delia coming to Miami, can't speak English, to Shami reading her poem this morning. She increased her life. 80 of us on the call went, oh my gosh, I want that. And she's like, I don't know if anybody wants this. I'm going to read it. I don't know if anybody wants this. I'm not sure. Can we be the encourager in somebody else's life? There isn't a deity who feels that you will serve us better. You must get rid of the fact that there's a deity, that you will serve us better by you staying poor. Heather's story, we all went, shit, my life's pretty freaking awesome. My life is pretty freaking awesome. Oh, wait a minute. I got to go to prison for the next 3 years? Imagine 24 hours from now, you're in a Colombian prison. Imagine anytime you get off a plane, you really want to make life interesting? Imagine anytime you get off a plane and you're walking to your luggage, you're walking to baggage. Imagine somebody snatching you out of line. And for the next 3 years, you're wherever you just landed in a prison and hoping you've got your Hilda standing outside in a mile-long line to bring you toilet paper. Might you not show up at your family reunion just a little bit brighter? Look at that smile on that shoulder. Look at that hair. Look at that hair. That is one handsome face. Look at that smile. Look at that laughter.
Hi, Sean.
Hello, my love. I love you. I can't wait to hug you. Folks, this is what we get to do. Listen, because the kids are there, I'm not going to say it. I normally don't curse, but how itty, right? Put an S in front of that. How bad is life really going to be today? How many of you, if you had a choice, right? It says in the Bible, choose life or death. How many of you had a choice between prison and what you're going to do? How many of you be going, oh, hell, let me do this. Let me do this. Let me do this today. Can I do this today? Can I deal with my people leaving my business or nobody wanting to talk to me or my fear? Can I deal with that? Can I get better at doing me versus having to go become this new actress of being this tough person in a prison? Oh, yeah, but they're going to write documentaries about you. Really don't care. You're going to get to paint a rainbow in a prison. Won't that be nice? Really don't care. They're going to fly you to London for 10 days, all expense paid trip. No. How many of you would give up 3 years of your life for a 10-day experience in London? Nope. I'll work hard enough to go get my own. Y'all get, yeah, I'm good. Absolutely, Brent. Yeah, I'm good. No. Listen, I can do this right now. I can do this better than I could do with the prison thing.
You're right. Somebody just said, don't we put ourselves in prisons? That's the point. So many of us live in a prison, but you're not technically in a prison. But the way that we live our life is just as if you were. And we don't have to. And I did. Even when I was free, I was still living in that prison for all those years while I was technically free.
Look at that beautiful smile behind you. How could you ever want to be away from that? Yeah, Brittany, we are absolutely the elephants. This is why for the last 421 episodes, I've been walking you all through this addiction to approval, and you all didn't know it. How to break it. How to help get yourself out of it. The reason that it's taken a year for some of you to break out is because you can't do it in 21 days. You can't do it in 90 days. You know how hard this has been wired into Heather? For her and I to even have this conversation, there wasn't a moment in the first conversation we had on the phone for 2 hours that she wasn't absolutely trying to talk through the waterfall that was flowing down her face. She couldn't believe she was revealing to me, this perfect stranger. Literally,
we have to go back and watch that call because you recorded it.
I did. We were perfect strangers. And then for me to walk her through that place to meet, so listen, all I said to her, she goes, I need to tell my story. I said, great, come on our call. What? Oh, yeah.
The very next day, like you were a complete stranger. The very next day, well, you come on the call.
Come on the call. I'll walk you through it. Because it wasn't about me. It wasn't about me. It wasn't, oh, I need to get her on here because I'll get more viewers. I could give a rat's patootie. She needed to express this. And all of a sudden, she started to let this go and she started to talk about it. And listen, every time she talks about it, I hear something new. I hear something new. Right, Rhonda? We hear something new. This is why I started this call. It started December 18th, 2018. Get out of your effing way. Where the F did mean what it meant, but it was really more about fear or frustration or fatigue. And then I don't want to say I buckled, but I wanted to make it more inclusive. So that's when I changed it to just the Daily Awakening call. But this is what we do every day. We decide to break out. We decide to break out of that old story, the addiction to approval. This is what I've been teaching you, and this is what I've been training you, and this is what I've been releasing you to. We didn't call it, I'm going to get on an addiction to approval call in the morning. Who would want to sign up for that? Hey, join me on an addiction to approval. What are you addicted to? That'd be like, I mean, it's like hiring people to come to AA who don't even drink. We're all addicted to something. That's why every one of you are going, oh my God, I can hear Heather. Oh my God, I see her story. Oh my God, my life isn't so bad. Oh my gosh, I hear these stories about from when we're 14 and can't do this and can't do that. Oh my God, that's just like me. This is why it's so important for you to learn your story. And when you learn your story, you can tell it like Heather and you go, holy crap, she was in prison? Oh my gosh. Yeah. Hey, Robert, I love you. Hi, Robert. Yeah, we're all addicted. We're all addicted. The question is what does every addict have to do? They've got to admit they're addicted. And once they do, the easiest thing, when the rewiring of the brain starts and when the rewiring of the body starts and when the old story starts to leave you, I can promise you there were times that Heather, even in our dialogues, a distance came because there was this, I don't know if I'm worthy enough to leave this pain behind, to leave it as this shield that I have to remember that it's on a shelf, that I can always have that experience, but I don't have to wear it anymore. It takes a lot. And is it pronounced Shanice? I'm not going to ask you your story. I saw you type earlier, but is it pronounced Shanice? So she said she's ready to tell a story at some time when God gives her the courage to do that. This is what this community does. How many of you feel more inspired to go live your best life than the mask that you had on? This is why I ask you, when you learn to share your story, you're going to find a way. You're going to find a way that people connect with you. Some of you, this is the very first time you heard Heather. Now you're going to go watch a documentary on her. What? Listen, every one of us could have a documentary written about us. And it would be powerful. They write one on Heather. They do one on Heather because it draws eyeballs. It's extreme. But you know what? If some of us heard y'all's story, it would be extreme too. There is an audience that's looking for you. There's a community that's looking for you that says, she's like me, he's like me. And if he could do it, I could do it. This is what we get to do. Gigi, what are you hearing?
It kind of relates back to a conversation I had with some friends yesterday about the addiction to approval, and realizing that a lot of us seek validation for our own life within other people. And I find myself questioning, like, when I want to do something, I'm like, okay, let me ask this person, let me ask that person. But it's like, why am I asking somebody else what I should do with my life when it's my life? Like, I should want to take ownership and do all the things that I want to do. And it just realized,
so,
like,
put your hand up like this. Now we're doing a high five. Boom.
You know, this like addiction to approval is like bad.
So tomorrow I'm going to walk us through it. I'm going to walk us through how it all started. I'll walk us through how addiction to approval, because it was insidious. It was insidious. And it was wired in. And it was wired in by the best teachers that could teach us at the time. Our parents. And Dana, yes, we are all in a prison, but here's the thing. There's that phrase in the Bible. I'm trying to remove the plank out of your eye. I'm trying to remove the splinter out of your eye when I should be removing the plank out of mine. Perception is reality. There's people who, until the idea of actually walking into a prison, Dana, you're young enough to remember this. Do you remember seeing Scared Straight? Do you remember seeing those times in high school, Scared Straight, and they'd go in and they'd yell at these kids and they'd pee themselves and right? And there's another documentary that came out. I don't know if it was on Gaia or where it was, but they're talking about where you go in for 3 days and these tough people, but it's about loving and counseling, and truly the breakthrough when you see these people go into this fit of rage. And that's the last Sebastian of the old story hanging on, when they get into this fit of rage, when you lose all of your consciousness and you lose all of that prefrontal cortex and you are in that fight or flight, and they're literally holding these guys from trying to beat the crap out of somebody. And that's when they have that breakthrough, when they release all of that energy that's stored up in the body. Some of us, we got to get to there. That's these moments where you absolutely break down for the breakthrough. When you come to the wall and you go, enough is enough. And you finally cry it out and you break it out and you are literally shaking and every cell in your body is going, what's happening right now? That's when you got to say, I don't know what you'd call it, but I'd say the Holy Spirit stepping in going, I got you. Go ahead. Go ahead. Take another step. You ain't stepping in front of the bus. Go ahead. Take another step. I got you. Can we get to that point? That's where Heather was. I mean, it was not her most vogue moment when she was releasing her story. And we've heard everybody who's walked through these moments where they break down. I'm afraid to cry. Cry your ass off. Let it out. Because if you don't, it just stays in there. And any water that sits becomes stagnant. I want your souls to be free. I want your souls to live. I want there to be a new breath of life inside of you. It's why I'll ask a Heather and call her out. It's why I'll throw a Rhonda in front of an oncoming angel. That looks like a big old school bus. Because I know each of them have this story. That's why I'll call on a Gigi and go, so what are you feeling? And she says this brilliant thing. We're talking about my friends. This seems pretty bad, this addiction to approval. Yes. You're absolutely right, Laura. Holy, holy, Holy Spirit.
But one more thing.
Sure.
When I was speaking to my friends, one of them was speaking how like they crave other people's validation. And it's like an addiction. Like you crave it and you like want it. And I'm like, I can't make a decision. I can't do anything without having somebody else's validation on it or somebody's stamp of approval on it.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I get here?
Well, so here's how it got here. When we were little and we handed our parent a weed and they laughed, we go, oh, I could hand weeds. I could just hand these little flowers and I would get good ideas. And if we did something bad, we got in trouble. Then we'd go to school and we get good grades. We don't get yelled at. We get bad grades. We get yelled at. Then we want the attention for being the bad person in the school or being the good person in the school. And then all of a sudden we go through school and we get good grades and we're supposed to get good grades. And the way we're going to get a job is if we got good grades. And then we go to a job and we get hired by somebody. And the way we get a raise is that somebody's got to like us. They got to promote us. We can't promote ourselves. We get promoted by somebody else's opinion of us. And we don't like their opinion of us, but we need the job. We need the money. We need the this. And then we leave. And then we get a job, and then we all of a sudden become a manager. Now we got to get our employees to like us so we can get them to do stuff so that we can pay them just enough that they'll stay working and they'll do enough so we can't fire them. And then we got to be competitive. We got to be competitive with this department versus that department, but we got to be cooperative for the whole global vision of the company. And then we leave that and we go, that's no good. And we get into network marketing, which is the most insidious industry in the world, because if I'm in this company, your company's no good. You want to talk about what is the nuts that goes on here? And then we tell everybody, I don't know how to do this. I'm new to this profession. I'm new to this business. This is my first week in network marketing. No, it's not. You've been in network marketing your whole entire life. You've been a public speaker your entire life. You've just never been paid for it. You've been paid whatever somebody else decided you're worth. And then you step into this and you got to decide what you're worth. And that's where the shit hits the fan. What am I worth? I got to follow what they do. And then you start following what other people tell you to do. Let's do what they do. Let's do it how they do it. Give me your script. You've got a script that's more valuable than anybody else on the planet. It's your script. When are you going to start to tell it? This is your life. This is your moment. This is your time. Stop being the actress. Stop being that person in prison. Oh, that's easy to say, Sean. I know. That's why it's called addiction to approval. It's why we have to walk you through it step by step by step, baby step, baby step. And then I watch you guys take 7 steps back. It's like, oh, I love them. At least I can get them back to start. Let's see if we can get them back to the starting line. And then you get back to the starting line and you get to the starting line. You go, oh my God, I've never seen this path before. What do I do now? Where do I go? What do I say? What do I do? Somebody give me a script. What do I say? I need help. Take the next step. The gun has gone off. Take the next step. Oh my God, they're ahead of me. They're dead. Run your race. I lay before you life and death. Then they got to give you the answer. Talk about, we're not allowed to cheat in school. If I cheat on your paper, if I look on your paper, that's called cheating. But when I get in the business world, it's called cooperation. I lay before you life and death. They give us the answer. They allow us to cheat. Here's the answer, by the way. If you keep reading, you'll have the answer. Choose life. Is this moment, right now, this moment, 8:20 a.m., 9:20 a.m., wherever it is, if you look at the time right now, you ask yourself in this moment, do I deserve to be in joy? Or do I have to live somebody else's misery? Because you didn't show up here to be miserable. You didn't. You weren't put here to be miserable. You're not on this call with a desire to be miserable. So you've got to now ask, am I living their misery or am I going to choose to live my joy? That choice is up to you. Right now, that choice is up to you. Doesn't matter what training you've had, what programming you've had, anything else in this moment. See, Heather has that little joy that leans on her neck and that little smile that shows up. Yeah, I'm talking about her. She shows up and she shows that smile. Can we be in joy? You look at that smile and I dare you to be in misery. I dare you to be in misery. Look at that hair. Who just wants to go, oh, it's so fluffy. You get this? We get to choose this moment, joy or misery. Yeah, and the reason you're in deep thoughts, my dear, is because your river of self-satisfaction runs deep. This stuff that you're dealing with on the surface, that's nothing. You want to avoid the hurricane? Go deep. You want to avoid the winds and the waves and the 6-foot waves and the 50-foot tidal waves? Go deep. How many of us have ever been to the ocean when the waves come and we dive under it? The best way out of the situation you're in is to go deep. Go deep and listen. If any of you have ever scuba dove, I don't think you say scuba dove, scuba dived. Farm boy from Ohio, check. If you've ever been down, and if you've ever taken the regulator out of your mouth and just listened, because boy, doesn't the sound of the regulator, I mean, it is loud. Do you ever just listen? How many of you can sit quietly and listen where you're at right now? Listen to the depth of your soul right now. Because in this moment, you are the greatest you will ever be. It's time to be you, the one who was put here to be this amazing soul. You are asked to be more. You are asked to be yourself. You were put here for greatness. There's a greatness that resides inside of you that is lighting up right now. There's a greatness that resides inside of you that is firing up right now. Here's the challenge. You don't know what it is. You don't know where you're supposed to go. You don't know what you're supposed to do. Stay in the feeling. It'll be revealed to itself. If you believe in the law of attraction will bring it to you. Well, I don't know how that's supposed to be. I've got shit that shows up. Well, yeah, that shows up because that's the old story going, you can't have it all right now. You can have it all right now. Take in as big a breath as you want right now. You can have all the air you want. Go stand outside in the sun. You can get all the sun you want. All the sun you can deserve. So much sun that it can burn you. Because you stayed too long. How much joy can you get into right in this moment? How many of you can laugh right now? How many of you can begin to live your life? Some of you are going, yeah, but this doesn't feel right. No, it doesn't feel right. It won't feel right. It can't feel right until it does. And once it does, then you go, I want a little bit more. Now you become addicted to this service. Now you become addicted to this joy. Now you become addicted to this, oh my gosh, there is more to me. And every day you step on top of the mountain, you go, there's another mountain, and you go down and you climb it. And you got to stay true to your story. What's your vision? What's your mission? Mine is every day to be a better dad, better husband, and to put more smiles in the world so they show up for my family, period. You can't take me off that. You won't take me off that. Do I achieve it every day? I'd say I do pretty good. Some days I'm wildly on fire. Those days are more often now than they were in the past. Why? Because I get to be in service from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. all day long. 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. all day long. There's rarely a moment I'm not in service. Why? Because right now people are needing our service. They're needing you. They're needing to hear your story. Shammy, I would go share that story everywhere. And I would work on the illustration of the book. Let us go sell you a whole bunch of copies. Yeah, but I don't know. You don't have to know. You have all of us who know. That's the thing. You don't have to know everything. Step forward in faith, not back in fear. I appreciate you all this morning. You all made this call possible. You all made this call possible. This call will never, ever happen again. That's how life is. This call will never, ever happen again. It's why I have to record them, because it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. every day I get to sit here and watch each of you, and I can't believe that happened. RC, what do you got to share, brother? Got to hear from one of the founding misfits.
Well, today is obviously, old journal day, and honest to God, so back in last February, we talked about Jim Rohn and the lesson of the lock. 4 to the right. It's important to go to the well. It never goes forward always. You have to go back 6, back 10, then 4 to the right. Click. It's like, talk about Leo dancing, everything else. We're stepping here, we're dancing there, we're turning the lock, we're turning to the right, turning to the left. Today's messages and today's comments and everything else, a lot of people heard that click. Thank you very much, Sean. I appreciate all of you. Love you.
Love you, brother. Brittany, what you got, girl? I'd love to hear what's happening in that beautiful brain and that amazing heart.
Okay, so I had a question. What was my question? Oh, so it was about shame, right? And I'm trying to put the correlation together for myself because I rarely, if ever, feel shame, right? So if I rarely, if ever, feel shame or embarrassed about things, and I also feel like I think the cats be sitting here to distract me every time I'm trying to talk because they be doing some crazy stuff. But if I really, if ever, feel shame and I don't do certain things to encourage people to like me, and I don't necessarily care if people like me or not, what exactly is it that I am insecure about? What is it? What approval am I actually addicted to? I think I know the answer.
So I love the question, and I love you, right? And what was question number 2 in the 3 questions I normally ask? First question is permission to help.
Permission to take me out of the uncomfortable feeling.
That's number 3. Number 2 is permission to make you a little uncomfortable.
Okay.
If there's ever anybody that cares about what people think about them, it's you.
It's me.
And here's the difference. Brene Brown talks about shame versus guilt. Shame keeps us from taking action. Shame is what kills us. Shame is what causes you to ask that question because you're strong enough to ask the question. Most never ask the question and they kill their story. Guilt is, I shouldn't have eaten the ice cream. I'm going to go walk. I'm going to get on the treadmill. Have you ever indulged in something and said, I got to work out a little bit more? That's guilt. Shame is you keep eating it. Shame is you keep diving. I'm the problem. Shame is I'm the problem, right? Because you asked, what do I need to do? That's shame. It reveals itself in the dialogue. It's hidden in 1,000 different cloaks. But when you say, I don't care about what people think about me, but what do I need to do different? That's shame. If you don't know what to do, guilt gets you into action. Right? When you got to take care, when you got to make a payment and you call grandma and you want to talk about something, that's guilt. I got to do something. I got to take action. Guilt is action. Shame is, I don't know what to do. Shame is 13 years of Heather not telling her story. And then all of a sudden she's like, that wasn't that bad. I mean, other than the tears and I got to change my shirt, it wasn't really that bad. And now all of a sudden she starts to get inspired because she knows what it can do through others when they hear her story. You see how many people absolutely like, oh my God, I'm going to walk. And she's sitting over there like this little princess going, I can't believe people still want to see my story. That's crazy. So you absolutely, not that you need it, but you don't want anybody to think bad of you.
Okay.
I know you can, and listen, this is your old wiring. That's okay. It's your old wiring. I get it. But you ever see somebody do a magic trick and you know how the trick is done?
Yes.
And you're not impressed because you know how it's done?
Right.
I sit here and watch this magic trick that you pull on everybody else where you convince them of the story that you have.
It's okay. So what I'm I'm just still confused, I guess.
That's okay, but because listen, if we know everything that we know and everything we don't know, which is bigger?
Everything that we don't know.
Exactly. And the hardest thing for some of us, and this is stereotypical, but the hardest thing for women to enter into is the place of the unknown. Because they have to be so guarded.
Oh,
They have to be. You're this strong, beautiful Black woman. I'm guessing there's sometimes a little bit of racial situations and prejudice against you, right? You have addiction that's very clear. You have a beautiful smile. You have beautiful skin, right? You have all of these things that are for you in a culture of women where you stand out. You stand out. You just do. So now all of a sudden it's like you got to fight to be there. I'd rather get in a ring with 10 guys than 2 waitresses are pissed off about who didn't get the last table. I'm just telling you.
I'm hearing you, but I'm not following you.
And that's okay. So here's the thing. When you're in joy, when you have this smile on, what is the feeling inside of you?
I don't know, different feelings at different times.
Great answer. Let me see if I can ask the question. When you are in this state of smile and enjoy, when you're hearing Ashley talk and you're going, oh my gosh, that's my girl. And she's talking and you're all for her. And then all of a sudden she says to you going, you got a tattoo that's love on your hand? What? And you're like, we don't even know each other. Right? That new level of awareness, that new level of, oh my gosh, we just got to learn something new about each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's that state of joy that you're in? That's what, well, I don't know. I would ask yourself that question because a lot of times things that happen in our life, we get into these states of joy and there are these fleeting moments. They're almost like the commercial in our life of happiness. And then we go back to the main show, which is like mere drudgery and misery and all of this other stuff. And then we have these little commercial breaks of life called a call like this, called an awakening, going, oh my gosh, I'm life is pretty good. And then we go back to the misery. What can you do to stay in joy?
I'm still confused.
What's that?
I said I'm still confused.
And that's okay. So ask yourself, what is confusing about this conversation? Where can you, why is it that you're not able to predict the next, right? Because you're very good at nexting. Most of us are extraordinary at nexting, right? Finish somebody's sentence, know the thought that they're in. But I'm taking you on a path that was not the path you were hoping it would go on, expecting it to go on, that what you were saying was right and I was going to agree with it.
No, I don't expect that.
No, but that's where confusion comes in. But that at a subconscious level, otherwise you'd know exactly what I'm saying. And you go, you know what? All that makes sense. You're right. That's right.
And I just thought about that. I was like, okay, I asked the question. I'm not really sure how he's going to answer it, but he's not answering it in a way that just gives me the answer.
Well, here's the question. If I tell you, if you ask me what 2 + 2 is.
What's 2 + 2?
What do you want it to be?
4.
Okay, it's 5. Yeah, but
right.
He's got to be wrong. It's never been 5.
Right.
So that's where the challenge is the answer I'm giving you is I don't understand it because you've never heard somebody speak to you with true honor and respect and joy saying you're half gas in your life. You're telling yourself an old story that doesn't serve you, but you're also playing at half pace. When you turn yourself on and let yourself loose, good Lord, look out. You're playing to it. You're playing to the Monique's actress position that allows us to look at you and not go, she's nuts. We go, no, she's pretty cool. She's strong. She's forceful. She's got her life all locked down. She knows exactly what she wants to do, and she ain't taking crap from nobody. and you're not. But why do you have to take crap from anybody? Why not live at your, why do you have to be here to avoid and to allow me to throw tomatoes at you and you can go, that doesn't bother me? Why do you have to be good at taking crap? Why do you have to be so strong? Why can't you just excel above and start flying at the higher altitudes where it hardly takes any energy? And that's this rewiring that you're happening right now. These conversations you're having with your roommate about thinking in the future and planning things and asking questions and being able to have dialogues you've never had before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So in this moment, what can you choose?
Joy.
Or the other. It's either way. So I would encourage you to journal. And maybe not journal, maybe you're more auditory. I would encourage you to turn on your phone and just start recording your thoughts and start speaking. You have an elegant speaking voice. You have verbiage, you have words that you use that when you speak, when you get in state, that are elegant words. You speak elegantly with sophistication. I would encourage you to just speak and record it. Imagine you were doing a training on Brittany's life.
Okay, that's interesting.
Ooh, that's better than you crazy fool.
No. That's interesting that you say that because my voice notes in my phone, I use that all the time. I voice journal, audio journal. Fritz Priest. I like that. I really like that. I might name that my podcast or something. No copyright.
There you go. So. Oh, that was the other thing. That's where this thing started off months ago going, I ain't going to tell you all what I'm doing because somebody's going to take it off.
No, probably. Because I do voice journal a lot, like a lot. And I also have these conversations a lot too because I'm just so curious. And I inquire a lot about a lot of things because, which is my downfall. I do want to know.
No, it's not. Don't say that.
No, I do because I know because I want to know everything about everything, and I know that I can't.
So here's the reality. So everything you know is inside this circle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everything you don't know is that barrier between what you know and what you don't know, right?
Right.
So every time you learn something, this gets bigger. And therefore, you now have a bigger circle of everything that you now got to learn that's on the boundaries. What I've decided to do is I've decided to focus on one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gotten very good at that. You guys hear me? I can't spell. I scuba dove, right? There ain't no word, scuba dove. What rock have you lived under? Well, I don't know. I'm certified in scuba diving. I'm a level 3 scuba dover diver, 3, whatever that is. My point is that decide what you want to get great at, Brittany.
I just want to get great at being me.
Yes, but there's something that you do better, right? I think it was Emerson said there's a talent you do so well that we wish we could do it half as well. You already do it so well. Don't get good at what you're bad at. Get great at what you're amazing at.
Mm-hmm.
We spend too much time wanting to get good at everything. Well, I'm not good at marketing. Well, let me get good at marketing. Screw marketing if you're not good at it. Somebody, listen, I couldn't spell. The headmaster said he'll have people that work for him that know how to spell. And it's true. I work with people who teach me how to spell. There's some people who won't listen to me because I can't spell. Ain't that funny? They can't watch me because weekday, is that spelled right? Yeah, maybe it had one E in it. I can't watch this. What are you great at? Decide what you want to be great at. Decide what they're going to build a statue to you for. All of you, decide what they're going to build a statue to you for. What your grandkids are going to build a statue to you for. Your great-great-great-great-grandkids are going to build a statue to you for because Grandma Brittany did this. She changed our family's generation forever because of this. It ain't because of your nails, and it ain't because of your hair, and it ain't because of anything else. It's because of what beats your heart. There's something you're going to leave a legacy for. We die twice, the day they bury us and the last time they say our name. How long are you ever going to have your name said? Because it ain't about all of the arguments you're having in our own heads. I lay before you life and death. Choose life. What are they going to build a statue to you for 100 years from now? Will you be remembered 100 years from now? If not, we all got to get our butts in gear. We don't have to. I shouldn't say that. Not everybody wants to have a statue built to them. I don't, but I do. There was only one person I know that kind of sacrificed everything on a cross. I think he did that so we don't have to. We should probably all just go live the life we were asked to be here. We were given more gifts than we were ever able to use. Why don't we go develop as many of the ones in the particular field that we're supposed to do? I talk about being in prison. I talk about the way we lock ourselves up. Could you imagine Heather Love going, listen, I'm here to help you break out of your prison. What makes you qualified? Well, let me tell you a little story. Oh, snap. Guess how many of you get to tell Heather's story today? Do you understand that? You all get to tell Heather's story today. When you're watching the documentary and you see the actress that plays her, you go, oh my God, she's on my call in the morning. I watched her today. I saw her. How many people are going to say that about you today? I got to talk to Brittany today. I talk about that all. Brittany, I don't know if you know this. I talk about you all the time. I talk about all of you all the time. Usually the first person that I get to talk to about is my bride. When I walk out of this door, she goes, how was your call? I go, you wouldn't believe what Shammy did today. That's the little girl with 3 kids? Yes. She read this poem this morning. Heather was on the call this morning. What'd Heather say? What'd Heather share? She shared about the prison again. How she inspired everybody. Brittany. Okay, what'd Brittany say? Y'all are important to me. Y'all are a part of my life. We got billionaire Veach on IG.
But hi, Sean.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great, wonderful. I wanted to get one of my team members actually told me to get on because I was listening to Heather and Shami, and Shami, your poem is beautiful, and I've been thinking a lot about getting back into my poetry. And then as soon as I was on the call and you were reading your poetry, I was like, okay. And then Heather shared her story. So I was going to send my poem. I wrote it like 4 years ago to my group chat that I have for mental health and spiritual health and things like that. And then I sent it to one of my friends, and he was just on this call, Aaron. He was like, if you don't tell this poem on this call, I'm going to post it for you. Like, I was like, well, dang, you don't have to move me out like that. He was like, so did you?
Don't be coming for my neck.
Yeah.
I just love to say that. I don't know what the hell it means. I think I understand what it means, but I just like to say, don't be coming for my neck. Don't be coming for our necks. It's like,
yeah. He was like, so did you raise your hand yet? I was like, okay, where's my hand? So I've been sitting here.
Yes, you do.
And I wanted to share this with you guys. Yeah. So hold on, I'm pulling it up right now. Here we go. Okay. It's untitled. You're welcome to melt like butter in the palm of my hands. You're welcome to cry on me because this world has given you nothing but bloodied feet. Has it mistreated your mind, spinning on the axis of time that you know heals all, but also carries some of the pain? Don't be ashamed of those scars. Don't be afraid of your drunken words or your high mind. I'll witness it with no fright. You're welcome to melt like butter in my hands, because at first glance you were strong and silent. At the second you were still strong, but not silent. And at my last glance at you, your eyes were filled with a joy that I'd never seen look so perfect. Whether you could see it or not, I know that I've seen you imperfect, still perfect. But I was begging you to put I am, or I'm, in front of it because your imperfections were no form of perfection to you at all, even though to me your imperfections were the most perfect of them all.
Wow.
That's good.
Yeah.
Oh, Baki.
Oh, it's Brittany.
Do y'all realize the community that's here?
Yes. Wonderful.
How do you feel now that you shared it?
I feel great. I was like super nervous, but Aaron was like, I feel like it needs to be shared with other people. So I'm just happy that I got to share it with you guys this morning.
Yeah.
Go on live today and share that.
Go on live today.
I was just about to say that she needs to make like an Instagram post with the words and post it on your page, because that's even already what your page is going towards.
Yeah.
So you need to make a visual on Canva for it. Like choose what type of aesthetic that you want to have.
Well, Brittany,
And
I hear what
then-
you're saying, but I don't quite understand it. I love you. Here's my point. We all can help others, give them guidance. And you're absolutely right. I agree 100% with everything you're saying, that it would help her to do that because
I get where you're going.
Because you have caring in your heart for her. Is it okay when somebody speaks to you, the unknown or the unseen?
You know, it's crazy because when who was I talking to about this? I don't know, but from a long time ago, when Ashley got on here and she started crying, I was like, no, you is not about to get on here being sad. No. I'm about to, no, let me talk to her. Right? And when you said today, how come we could show up for other people? I had this conversation with somebody, but I don't think it was like any of you guys, but how is it that we can show up so fast for other people? And then when it comes to us, we don't show up as fast for ourselves. And then when other people try to show up, we kind of shun them away too. Why is that?
Because it's the attraction to the distraction. That's why you've heard this, Brittany, and you're starting to hear it now more and more. When I ask something and somebody goes off on a tangent, and I go, that's a great conversation. We'll have that later, but let's stay on this. Most mentors, most teachers will go, ooh, they're hearing me, and I triggered something else in them. No, they triggered something else in themselves to keep them from me digging deeper into this spot. They're trying to hide the treasure. I'm like, you can't get me off the treasure. I've been doing this too long. I know where it's buried.
Okay, I got bleeped out. Sorry.
Okay. Takaya. Good morning, Takaya. Good morning.
Good morning. Man, this has been an emotional roller coaster, and it's only 6:49 in the morning. I haven't even been to sleep yet.
I dare you now.
I know. Actually, I think I'm gonna sleep a lot more peaceful after this. But so it all started with Heather's story, and I was like, well, maybe that's what I was missing in Catch Her in the Rye, is that it's a story of vulnerability. And I was like, when I connected to myself, I got life, whereas like Holden like chose.
How cool is that?
I was thinking about it when Heather was like, when she brought up the fact that she was in prison, I was like, when I like thought and it was like, what was the question? You said, anyways, long story short, I was like, well, growing up, I had like two choices, right? I had either a physical or I had a mental or an emotional prison. The physical is like my dad being in jail, and then the emotional and the mental are the women in my life. And I was like, well, when I think about it, I was like, school was my physical prison, and then I was surrounded by a bunch of people who were older than me in their own mental, emotional, and like old story of a prison. And I was like, well, like back then, like I like that's something I had to forgive myself for, because I was like, it's not that they, it was more so like I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. So I just kind of like, I'm glad that I had to learn that like on my own, because it made me into, I guess, the best teacher, because I'm still teaching people who are older than me, and I'm leading them, and I'm like, for the longest time I was like, why am I showing up for myself, and why am I showing up for other people, and they're not showing up for me back? And another thing was when Delia said her cloak was being like obedient and submissive and stuff like that, and I was like, well, when I look back on it, the reason why I don't hold any resentment personally is because I was being in service. I was enjoying, being by my grandma's hospital bed. I enjoyed those visits with my dad. I enjoyed that time with my mom. But one thing I didn't really get was having a friend, which was supposed to be my sister, and she's 7 years older than me. So I was like, But then I realized, like, she couldn't even show up for herself, so how could she show up for me? And then on top of that, I was like, well, the thing about my sister is that, like, I never had to say anything for her to get mad at me. And I always wondered, like, what was the problem with that? Because it was like I would be, and I guess it comes from a place of hurt, and that, like, she couldn't receive the love that I was offering to her, and all she could offer me back was yelling and screaming and saying things that weren't exactly the best. And I was like, I've forgiven her, but I'm like, I wonder if she forgives herself. And then I was like, I wonder how lonely that must be, because I'm like, my sister isn't like close to like anybody, but I am. And it's not because like I'm any like special. I guess it's just because of my choices. And then another thing
Choices
too,
are
I was like,
everything.
huh?
Our choices are everything.
Right. And then on top of that, right, I was like, my cloak was being mean, and it was because I was starting to get hurt because I didn't have the tools to show up anymore. And so then that's when I just kind of just went down that path of, getting into that addiction to approval. But I'm glad I had it, and I'm glad I was still safe through it, and I still had my head on straight, because I'm like, look at where I am now. And it's a great place to be. So I'm going to be going to sleep after this.
Here's the challenge. When we're in addiction to approval, we're no different than an animal in a trap. I've never walked up on an animal in a trap and said, and the animal's going, hey, I'm so glad you're here. Could you help me out?
Oh my gosh. And then too, right? Something that blew my mind was, okay, so my grandma, the first time she had cancer, right? For some reason, this never like clicked to me to like get the timeline. But when I was younger, it was my sister and it was my two older cousins. They're all 5+ years older than me. And I remember, like, I was in the hallway and I remember seeing my grandma on the floor. And I was like, I just remember going up to her and like, why are you laying down? And it was because she was starting her chemo. And so I remember just laying there, and I remember she like fell asleep, but like I stayed awake all night. And then finally, like, I asked her the other day, I was like, Grandma, how old was I when that happened? And she said 15 months. And I was like, excuse me? I was like, is that even possible? Because I was like, I was like, I'm thinking I'm like 4 years old when this happened, because I'm like, that's traditionally when children start, like, well, that's traditionally like when most people can like reflect as like far back.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, that baffles me. And so I guess, long story short, like The Catcher in the Rye is not only a story of vulnerability, but it's also a story of like growing up like a little bit too fast.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Thank you for sharing this morning.
Thank you for being the support that I needed.
We're all here
I
for
love you guys.
We love you too.
Love you too, Brianna.
Is it Nativia Smith?
Oh my gosh. No, it's Natavia.
Natavia.
Okay, I forgot I raised my hand because I got so emotional watching her. So I was like, oh my gosh, what was I about to say? I know y'all probably want to see my face, but I feel like I look really crusty. So I don't want to like hurt y'all's eyes, but I want to be more transparent with you guys, because I've been on here a few times and I'm like, okay, I need to talk. But okay, so here I go. How are y'all doing? But okay, so
Okay, hold on just a second. Remember your question.
You're beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh,
Let's
thank
just
you.
clear this up.
I mean, that's something I know, but
Yeah, but
this bonnet
yeah,
is
no.
something I don't like to go outside in public places.
Oh no, you listen.
Like,
You can't be on this call unless you got a robe or a hat on or something. So go ahead. Love
okay,
you.
I can make it better. I put the cover on me, but okay, so I've always been super positive and super outgoing, and just like this person that people come to for advice and stuff like that. And when I had my daughter, she's 10 now, but I feel like things for me were horrible, like from me being pregnant all the way until she was 9 years old when we moved at the place we're at. I'm not trying to cry. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I feel like we've been through so much, and now I'm at a place where I'm doing really well. I can't, but it's like really, I don't know how to move past this, and like, why am I crying? But I just feel like I'm stuck because I'm super spiritual. I do like readings, like I do tarot readings, so like I'm very intuitive, and I don't know, I just been feeling super like stuck for a while. Like ever since I moved here, it's like, yes, I got to the place that I've always wanted to be, but I'm still not where I want to be, if that makes any sense. But it's like I'm stuck because before, for years, me and my daughter, we lived on floors, we lived on couches, we lived house to house. I was homeless when she was only 6 months. And we was living out my car. I was going to school. Nobody knew this stuff. Because people always see me as this very positive person, but they never even knew like the stuff that I was going through, because I was always like, and listening to Heather's story saying that she had to, pretend. I pretend for like 10 years almost. And I don't know. I don't even know what to say anymore. I don't know where I was going with this. But every time I get on here, it's like I want to say something. I want to talk, but something always makes me not want to. Or when I do get to talk, I'm just, I forget what I'm supposed to say, or I just don't say it, or I don't know. That's where I'm at.
Heather.
I feel her right now. Like, she's making me cry. Like, so what you didn't hear from this morning was that before all of the crazy jail happened, it was just me and my little boy. And I was in an abusive relationship, and I tried to leave many times. And I was homeless with that little boy. I lived in an abandoned house with no electric or no water, and we slept on a cut-up mattress on the floor. I slept in friends' houses with that little boy. I was mean. I was nasty. I had a I don't give a F attitude with the world because I was trying to protect myself. I didn't know what I was doing, okay? And life happened and it led me to this other place where it's okay, Tora. Things you get to a better place, but you know that that's not where you really want to be yet, right? You want better, and those things will keep coming. Just don't lose yourself, right? And it might not always be easy, and it might not always be something that you want to smile about, right? But better days will come because you in your heart, you know what the end goal is. You know what you imagine for yourself. You know the thing that you want. And what I didn't know then, I always knew that my happiness mattered, right? And that I wanted better, and I wanted better for this baby, and I wanted better for me. I knew that, right? But I didn't know how I was going to get it. I didn't know how it was going to come to me, but I opened up the universe. I pleaded to God. I let my wants and desires be known as frequent and as often as I could. And even though life still kept getting harder for me, even though I was trying to do the right things, I can stand here now and that little boy is 19 years old. And after I got home from prison, I was able to make a better life than I had ever imagined. Me all by myself, I was able to get a job that allowed me the ability to buy my own house. And it isn't a little crap in the wall house. We got a house, a single family house in the suburbs, a better house than anybody in my family ever owned. Like, I'm doing so much better than, and even in the obstacles, okay? Like,
yes,
I know
everything you're saying. Yes, I know. Like,
those things will come, and I didn't know how these things will come. And even when the good things come, bad things happen. Me and my husband started a business, and I lost all of my 401k savings, the thing that allowed me to buy this house, the thing that allowed me stability. But because I put things in place, right? Because my mind was strong, and my desire to create a better life, and my foundation and my beliefs, like my family is first, and I have to stand by them, and I have to do what's best for them. You sometimes have to make hard decisions, right? But you are in the right place for the right reasons, and
yes.
you know that in the future, like, I'm doing better than I was before, but I'm not where I want to be. So just don't lose that. Don't lose that. It's okay to cry, but it's not okay to pack your shit and stay in that place.
Right.
Like, it is okay to feel sorry for yourself. It is okay to be sad, but you get back up and you keep going, and you keep going towards the thing that you're determined to get. And I'm not where I want to be, right? And I keep going back to, I had this dream of being a nurse, and that dream was 19 years ago, but I had to put it on the shelf because I was pregnant, and I had to stand up for. I made choices, and I ended up pregnant, and now there's a baby that now I have to be present for, right? So that went on the back shelf, and there was no more of that, and I had to work, and I had to provide, and to be a single mom and do whatever it was, and I still made mistakes. But being the best mother, and even in that, I failed. I made mistakes. I ended up making choices that left that little boy by himself for 3 years. And I didn't have a say in the life that he was being provided. I didn't have a say in protecting him. So the thing that I wanted desperately to be, even in that, I failed for a period of time. So coming back to being given this little boy back to me, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to do it, right? But the thing that was in my heart was to be there for him, to show up for him. And then my husband came into my life, and I lost my little boy when he was 5 years old. I lost 3 years of his life. I came home when he was 8. When I met my husband, he had a 5-year-old son. I was afforded that opportunity to get back the years that I had missed with him, right? So like, again, the circle comes around, things come back. And even in our downfalls, even in the moments that are so hard, even when you see things that make you feel so ashamed or bad for being the mother, or the things that led you, you know, it's hard. I'm okay, baby. It is hard to look at those things, but I promise you, those things make you stronger. Those things build your character. Those things make you the strong woman and mother that you will be, that you are. And these are the examples that you give to your children, and they are priceless. And yes, they break us down, and yes, they make us feel horrible. But at the end of it, there is beauty in it. It just takes a long, long, long time for you to be able to look at it in that form and have the perspective to see that those bad things make you who you are. They make you beautifully broken. And it is okay.
Thank you for all those amazing words. Like, that's amazing. What Sean was saying, that we always, like, you know, we can give other people advice, but we can't, you know, give ourselves advice. That's how I feel. Like, everybody, I'm always giving advice to everybody, but then when it comes to me, I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do, you know, type of thing. So yeah, all of that, yeah, that made me feel really, 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 really good. Like, I don't know, I feel like the things that me and my child have went through, it's made her stronger as a 10-year-old. And, you know, people see me all the time. They like, you have a 10-year-old? I'm like, yeah, I had her when I was 21. So yeah, I'll be 32 this year. So it's like, yeah, I look young, but yeah, I have a lot of experience of, you know, things, you know, that, you know, I've been through. I might not look like that person that's been through a lot, but I have been through so much. It's really crazy. But but I just still couldn't put myself in a prison for 3 years. Like, when you said that, my heart dropped. And then to know you had a child, so I'm like, okay, wow. But I said I couldn't imagine that. But it was a time where I was homeless, and I just didn't want my child homeless with me. So I let her stay with my mom for only 3 months. So 3 months was a lot for me. And so for you to say 3 years, I'm just like, I just can't even put myself there, but I guess I can, because in them 3 months, I felt like someone took her away from me when she was with someone that I know was taking care of her and doing her, you know, really well. I can't hear you.
From the age of 3 till I was 14, I was sexually molested. And in my case, I had to leave my son with my mom. Now, my mom didn't do these things to me, but because I had to leave him, so it was 3 years, and that's why being a good mom was always so important to me. And so at one point, when I go back and I watch the documentaries, because they found me while I was in prison, and there was a time where I told them, I was like, I don't feel like a mom anymore. I look at his picture and I write to him and I talk to him and I kiss his picture every night before I go to bed. But I'm not a mom. Like, I don't have a say in anything. And, you know, and I felt like I didn't deserve to call myself a mom anymore, right? Like I the daily things that we do for our kids.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
yes, so 3 months, and it does feel I had no choice. So 3 years was very, very hard. But you come back for your kids, you do what's right, you stand up, you right your wrongs, you do everything you can to let them know that they are important and that you know you love them. And where I questioned his love for me, and that never I was worried, you know, I was always worried that he wouldn't love me, and that never happened. That never really was a problem.
Yes, that too. Like, I always tell my daughter, I'm like, I know I'm not being the best mom to you. And she's like, no, you're the best mom, ever. And so when she tells me that, y'all just don't know. I bet you know, but other parents know, like, that just
When
means
things
so much
get hard,
to me.
he's my breath. Like, he
Yeah.
is the reason why there's air in my lungs. And I tell him that over and over again. And, as they grow up, it doesn't get much easier, right? Because then he's 10 right now, so you got a little ways to go. But I had this little boy who's growing up, and then they become more and more their own person, and then their mouth comes along with it. And, you feel like, they don't appreciate or they don't see all the things that you do. And there's been times that I've had to remind him, like, everything we have, I will, just a second. Everything we have is because of him. Everything. My husband, these kids that I have, this house that I have. If it were not for him, if it weren't for that little boy that was at home waiting for me, there wouldn't have been a reason for me to be as strong as I was while I was there. There wouldn't have been a reason for me to come home and fight so hard to create all of these things. Everything I do in life and everything I have after that is all because of him. He was my rock. He was the reason why, and he will always continue to be it, because without him, I would not be here today, to be on this call, to have this experience. I just wouldn't. And I tell him when he needs to be reminded. And our kids, for most of us, and I would hope everyone, but I know that is not the case, right? Our kids are the heartbeat. They are the reason why we continue to exist. And even in the hardest moments, when you feel like you're not doing the best, when you feel like you're not everything you need to be, you're at your best because you're showing up for them. And that's what matters most.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Sean, too, for letting me speak.
Oh. Yeah, like I'm going to stop this freight train of love.
And then even after that, all of that, what I was always, I didn't have enough of all of my life was love. It was the thing that I lacked the most, that I felt like I wasn't given from the people who were supposed to give it to me, and safety and security and that simple thing. And then I married a man whose last name is Love. Like, the way that the world works and the way that things can turn around if you only allow them to. It's all about perspective and what you allow to happen in your life.
Yes, I was about to text and then you stopped talking. I was about to say I love you too. I love you guys too. My bad, I haven't said anything back. Heart.
So, Natavia, could you do something for me?
Can I?
Yeah, can you do something for me?
Yeah.
Can you leave the phone where it's at and step back a little bit? And can you take the Wonder Woman pose? Put your hands on your hip and put your legs apart a little bit.
Like this way. My bed is in a way. Hold on.
All right.
I'll go this way. Hold on. Maybe I can turn some light on.
No, you're good. We saw you. You're perfect.
Okay. Oh, wait. I have my tripod right here. I could just put it right there. Okay. Pose.
There you go. Just stand like that. Just stand like that for 30 seconds. Heather, you do that too. Every one of you do that. Listen, this is physically, it changes the physiology of your body. There's a TED Talk.
I did that when I did my first speaking event. My friend told me that, and honestly, it does do something to you when you stand there in that
keep your
pose.
hands on your hip. Eloise, keep standing there. Put those legs apart. Take that strong shoulder stance. Put your feet apart. This is the foundation y'all stand on. Yeah, go ahead, RC. Everybody do it. I'm telling you, it will change your physiology. It can't not. This is the power that's inside of all of you women. And guys, somebody said it the other day. I don't know where we were, but Leo was saying it. You gave life. You give life. Stand up and take your place. I'm here for you. I'll be your biggest supporter. Because we need you. I need you. You're all so strong. You hear these stories and people look at you and they go, wow, she's gorgeous. She's beautiful. Man, Paulo Coelho in his book, Manuscript Found in a Crawl, said, the scars you carry are stronger than the sword that made them. The scars you carry will scare your enemy because it shows you've been to battle and you've won. Every one of you have won a battle we haven't even begun to hear. And you're sitting there going, well, I don't know. I'm just this little old soul in this little pea pot of a person, and I really like to take care of myself. Oh my gosh. It's time. It is time. You all are stronger than you think you are, and you're more powerful than you think you are. You're more filled with love than you think you are, and we all feel it. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Just think of the story. If Heather didn't turn in her resignation, Natavia, you wouldn't have had this soul today because she'd have been working somewhere. All of these things.
Right. Oh my gosh.
If you didn't speak up, maybe your speaking up was what caused the resignation. There's all of these things that are connected. We're all here. Every one of you is so absolutely connected to one another. I believe in all of you. I truly do. You make me feel like your dad. I get to watch all of you grow. You think you all are enjoying? Yeah, give him the Hulk Hogan there, RC. Arr, rip the shirt. Why do I do this? First of all, because I get to. Why do I do this? Because I get to. Why do I continue to do this? Because I get to watch this. I get to witness this. Well, there you go.
We have to stop. No, just kidding.
That is a question, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Here's the thing. We all get to take this joy with us. Jim Rohn said it best. A little bit of me goes with you, but a little bit of you goes with me. RBP? Ugh.
Yeah, you always throw me out there at the pivotal moments. Y'all have given me so much. Here's one thing that I wrote down. I wrote down a lot of things, and God bless you ladies for being as brave as y'all are. My gosh. I wrote down, can you provide a place for people? We're back at that, but this is what I said. Can you stay consistent?
Where'd she go? There's oh, who's got that with the Wonder Woman right there? Arneth, say your name for me.
It's Arnitha.
Arnitha. I love it,
Yes.
Arnitha. And I love
Thank
your
you.
hair, by the way, not to mention that smile.
Thank you. It's my first time on. I didn't think I would show my face, but all you guys have been sharing wonderful stories. I don't know if I'm ready to share mine yet.
No, that's okay. But listen,
you
you
guys
showed
are
up.
amazing.
You showed up. You showed up. And
I did.
Did y'all see your Wonder Woman dolls over there? I love it. Oh.
Yeah, and this one is a bank. So you know it, we're banking. We're ready.
I love it.
We're ready. You spoke on it and I had to bring it out. I said, that's my confirmation right there.
There you go.
I love you guys already.
Thank you for being here. And this is our first
Yes.
time. Yay.
First time ever.
Was it worth it?
Oh, so worth it. Oh my gosh. I didn't know everyone was crybaby like me. I thought it was just me. I love crybabies. I love it.
See, we usually we have to pare down because we were up to 90 folks in the beginning and we get through all of that motivation. But there's
Yes.
usually this core of 30 who hang out, and it's like then we have these like earth-shattering revelations. So
This is the best part of bonding. I came right in the bonding time. I love it.
thank you for being here. So Rhonda,
Hello, everyone.
My
RB,
signal gonna stay. Can y'all hear me?
yes, we can.
Okay, my signal keeps going in and out. No, I was just saying that question must be a powerful question because it cuts out as soon as I start trying to say it. Can you stay consistent in providing a safe place of joy and love long enough so that people will feel safe to arrive and speak up? And can you be okay providing that place of love and allowing others to connect with someone other than you in the place you provide and not be jealous of those connections, but sit and enjoy those connections they make? That's a whole different thing. That's what Sean does. And it's a whole nother level, because if y'all look at Sean, there's only I think right now there might only be one of us on here that if you take it to working with them in something other than on a phone call, that they're in the same business. No one else on here is with him. And he's totally confident and in pure love to provide a place for all of us to arrive. And when Heather made the connection, he sat back and he enjoyed that connection in the place he provided. Y'all, churches don't even do that half the time. Much less a phone call with a 50-something white man from Ohio with a bunch of women of different races and different ages. So I would challenge you. This is what I'm going to try to do. Can you provide a place of love for however long time it takes for even just one person to show up, to feel safe enough to share their story, and vulnerable enough to open up to where you can see their heart? Because each one of you moms tugged at my heart, because the love of a mom and a dad to a child is unbelievable. And to hear y'all connect, and I'm privileged enough to get to watch it, and you allow me, you trust me enough to sit on this call and see the inside of your heart. What you gave me today, I can't have enough money in my lifetime to pay for. And rarely have I found a place to receive it. So I am challenging myself today. Can I provide a place for one person? And I'm worthy enough to do that. Because it doesn't take anything other than a heart and an ear. And that's it. And everyone on here owns both of those. And you're worthy of doing that for someone. No matter what they look like, no matter what they sound like, no matter where they're from, whether they're living in an abandoned house or whether they're in a mansion, they're all equal, trust me. So I'm just, I'm spent over here in a good way. And I'm so thankful, Sean, what you do by doing so much less and becoming so much more rises us up. And then to see a man do that for women, and Rob, for you as a man to stick around and just keep cheering us on. Y'all, there's not a place like this. And there's not many men, not humans, but men in this world that will allow this to happen around them. And better for us. And it contributes nothing monetarily to him. But oh, what I get to hear after the call that it does for his heart. Oh my gosh. Y'all are a priceless community. Show up for someone and provide a place without anything required of them. And be consistent in it. Do it as long as it takes, even if no one shows up. Someone's watching you to see if you're worthy of them showing up and if you're really there just to let them show up. They're watching. It's just like everybody on this call has taken time to get their story out because they're watching to make sure we're worthy of their story. And if you pick up anything to read, I would highly suggest Brené Brown. To all of us women and these guys, if y'all want to get to it, if you want to get to your heart, pick up Brené Brown. Sean can throw out which books he thinks are the best. Any of them are great. But when he put me on that trail and I got to see that and hear that is unbelievable. I love y'all. Thank you for letting me be a part of this. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you. I love you all. I truly do. Eloise, I don't want to say I broke you, but I broke into you and helped you uncover you, remind you who you are. So I love you all. Tavia, thank you for having the courage. Heather, thank you. You know I love you. I put you in my pocket and squish you. And I love you to pieces. And I love each and every one of you. And all of the people who were here earlier, I love them too, because they give us this place as well. Chris, thanks for being here. Dana, thanks for being here. Bob Parks, thanks for being here. Brandon, thanks for being here. Guys, thanks for hanging out. Y'all are worthy. Ralph in the house. Love Ralph. I appreciate y'all. I'm grateful. I'm honored. I'm your head misfit. And you know what? I'll see y'all where? At the next event. Y'all send some love to each other.
Love y'all.
I love y'all.
Bye, guys. I love you.
I love you guys. Have a great day.
Love y'all.
Take care.
Have a great
Thank you.
day.
Thanks for sharing.
Everyone have a blessed day.
Have a
Love you, my
blessed day,
misfit family.
everyone.
All
I'm
you
going
women
to
are
sleep.
strong, beautiful and
Love you guys.
strong.
Yolo!
I love y'all. Thank you to all the guys that stuck around. Thank you all the men that stuck around. We love y'all.
Yes.
We love
Bye,
you too,
family.
RVP.
Love you too.
Love you guys.
Love you too.
Or see y'all next time at the next
All
one.
right.
Big bro lady.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye for now.
Bye, y'all.